pretend that that wasn't the second time. That thing,
Especially
that thing's like Insta Smile.
nice.
Yeah, it like lifts the corners of your mouth upward. Like I don't know if that works in public that way, but I know over my headphones it worked that way.
You know what? I don't really have much experience with playing it in public, except for I went on a hike around here, and there was a lady coming up the hill, and I was just playing on the way down, and she was like, "I feel like I'm in Tibet right now," because she was like Tibetan or something, like that's where she came from.
And
So that was really cool.
that is really, you were just walking down the hill the whole time playing it, or just playing it
Yeah,
in short
yeah,
bursts?
yeah. Sometimes, like if I go on a hike, I like play on the way down if it's not too like crazy, and I'm like, like breathing all hard. But
That must be very calming. Okay, I don't even know where to start.
well,
There's,
it's nice. You know what though? It's really nice to get feedback because when I'm playing, I'm mostly like by myself somewhere.
is that just the one tune? Like, do you know the one tune and just practice that, or do you have different ones?
Yeah, that one lately, just because I don't know, I just stumbled upon it on accident, and I just like it. So that's the one. That's one of my favorites now. But mostly, I just like freestyle when I'm out. You know.
You know what scene I love do you know the movie The Dark Crystal?
Yes.
Isn't there a scene where he's the Gelfling, like the main character, is playing one of those? He's like he's nude by the creek or whatever, and he's playing one of those.
I don't. Oh, wait. Maybe I do remember that. And then another one comes and they like are on the run or something. I actually, you know what? I don't remember.
He gets called or something.
Yeah.
That's the beginning of the hero's
Oh,
journey in that
okay.
movie. Yeah,
Okay. I remember it a little more.
it's when he doesn't know he's the chosen one yet.
Nice. Nice.
I don't even know where to start. Like, I think we'll do another podcast sometimes where it can be very specific because I could literally just have 3 pages of notes going through all of your sections and everything. Because, like, I remember with the Jason Marshall podcast, there were just so many specific things historically to talk
Yeah.
about,
Yeah. 'Cause they
about
were
like
huge.
about yeah, like a skate career. But we'll definitely just free flow this one,
Totally.
like you said.
Yeah.
What? So do you define? I mean, if someone asks you what you did for a job, is your job a professional rollerblader?
Yeah. That's what I say. I think it's like the easiest thing to say, even though while I'm saying that, I recognize that, maybe saying professional inline skater is more professional. I guess, but I say rollerblading because that's just what it's always been to me. So, and everyone knows it as that,
And
you
not
know?
only that, that's the brand that you skate for.
Exactly.
So you're allowed to say rollerblader, whereas the other
Yeah.
companies, I don't think they can say
No.
rollerblades in their offices.
No. It's a very interesting thing that, the company started as it did, and then it became so popular, and that's what it became, you know?
Like, do you call it tissue or Kleenex?
Uh, Tissue, I think.
You do?
Yeah, I say tissue. But I
Um,
don't even say either of those words very much, so I don't really have much experience in the field.
There was a video that I posted of a hockey player doing training, and it was 1970 something.
Uh-huh.
And the original name for rollerblades were street skates.
Huh.
That's how he described them. And
Yeah.
that's, I think, what the Olsen dudes stumbled across was a pair of street skates. And then they
Yeah.
became rollerblades. So I always thought that was interesting if that stuck historically, street skates. I wonder
Yeah.
how different it would be.
Yeah, I mean that actually seems like the more accurate term for them.
Yeah.
That's probably actually what it should be called, is like street skating, because that's the most direct name for what we're doing.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
kind of like the whole rollerblade and rollerblading, massive, windy, side road that we've been on.
Yeah, it's and that we're still on, and what that word carries along with it as well. It's
Definitely.
it ranges from, person to person, the reactions. One of the most popular reactions is always like, "Oh yeah, I used to do that," And I actually find it very interesting that I find random people that actually grinded too.
That one has been surprising to me too. That
Yeah, because you feel when as soon as you hear someone say like they used to grind and stuff, you immediately are like, oh yeah, you were around during that time and you remember how you felt, and you're assuming that they felt the same way about like Senate and Hoax 2 and those kind of feelings that we all remember during that period of time. Um, but I don't know. Maybe some of them don't have that, but it's always exciting when some of them do remember that time period, because it was a very, I don't know, it was a very special time period.
we're still living it too.
Yeah, we are. We really
Somehow.
are.
Somehow.
I was actually living it quite a bit today, and I live it when I skate with old friends like Jason Meduda and stuff. But I don't know if you know who Randy Bernal is.
Did he do when we were talking about bizarre grinds, did he do the soul? He has tricks in VG4, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And does he do the soul where both your toes point inward, or am I just thinking
Oh
about
no,
Soya?
no, that's I think that's Anthony Baroga.
Oh, okay, I got that
Yeah,
wrong. But
he's an old school San Francisco. He's a Filipino guy, but different Filipino. But Randy Bernal is a good friend of mine, and he's an awesome DJ and b-boy and all this stuff, and he still skates. And I skated with him today, and I also skated with Mark Biala, who shared the section with John Julio in 18 Days.
seriously,
Yeah, and he is, wow, inspiring. He's so gung ho, and he's one of those people that just does stuff. They think about something and then they just do it. They don't think about like whether maybe they'll get hurt or if maybe they can't do it. And he was just going all out today, and it was so awesome and inspiring. And we were talking actually a lot about dancing and parkour and mixing skating with dancing, because he's of b-boy descent too, and he's trying to innovate all kinds of stuff now. And we were talking about those, that parkour move where you do the side flip, you put your hands up against the wall and then you do the side flip.
yeah.
We were talking about that before we went skating, and he's like, oh man, that'd be cool to do that. And he went up to this like little vert wall today, and he just went for it. And I was like, holy crap, I don't even feel like trying that. And he just went for it and almost landed it. And it was really amazing. And skating with those dudes, it's kind of like a time machine, back to certain, like the vibe of certain sessions. We're just different during that time.
There's a time isn't a prison at all. There's a vibe that I get usually when I go to like a Canadian comp. I haven't been to the more recent ones, like I haven't gone to pop contests, but there's something about you can like tap into it instantly,
Mm-hmm.
and you can't tap into it by yourself, and you can't tap into it
No.
maybe sessioning with like a certain group of people. There's like specific
Yeah,
people that instantly
totally.
certain stuff comes back. I don't know what that
Well,
is.
you know what? There's something to be said about when people get together in a group and they all focus on something, and like when you're at a contest and everyone's in the stands and everyone's like watching this one thing happening there. There's so much energy there. It's like putting a magnifying glass with the sun on something, and it's so concentrated because it's like focusing the energy of the sun. So it's like if everyone's focusing on the same thing and a very similar thing, it like makes this concentrated energy, and it can be very powerful. And I feel like when you get in a group of people and you all have kind of like the same like vibe or kind of like direction with the way you're skating with each other, it creates that, and you're all connected through that. And I guess on the extreme other side, it would be like if a bunch of people went to skate together, but then everyone plugged in headphones and didn't communicate, but skated together. Because that's how I feel when, not that, but when I'm with like an old school group of friends or a particular group of friends, it's like everyone's kind of having the same focus, even though everyone's doing something different, but we're all kind of like sharing and playing together, you know? We're all playing the same game. And so we're
Definitely.
participating in that same game. And I think there's something very, you know, powerful to be said about that, you know?
And I've felt that feeling at concerts before, where you get
Mm-hmm.
those like shivers, when the person first comes out on stage or the band comes out on stage.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a similar thing. And I think Todd did a very specific no headphones rule at Pop Contest because of
Oh,
that.
yeah. I mean, I love headphones when I'm by myself. It's like, it's amazing. And when I grew up, there would be times where I wouldn't have friends to skate with, and I had my Walkman, and, you know, I was just pretending I was Dustin Latimer or something, and you know what I mean? Or like,
And that shit was hard to skate with too.
yeah, it was. And it often got slammed. And I mean, they weren't very expensive back in the day, and you can get really cheap ones, but, um, and you probably had some Game Boy headphones and
I've tried before to skate with headphones even by myself, and I still I haven't found my groove yet.
yeah, and you know, maybe it's not your groove, and that's totally cool too.
I when I'm for tricks like at a skate park, I
Uh-huh.
can't. At any other time, if I'm just skating on a path or down streets
Yeah.
or going full speed on speed skates or something, then music for sure.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. Or running or any kind of thing where you're, you know, long distancing or something like that.
Did the guy who went for the wall flip, I can't remember his name again.
Uh,
Randy, no, the
no,
different.
Mark Biella.
Yeah, had he seen it in edits before?
Yeah, yeah, that's what we were talking about. They were just blown away they were blown away by Matthew Ledoux skating, and they were just like, wow, that is just amazing and it's incredible. And most people outside of the direct niche of skating will say the same thing, you know, will be like amazed at what he's doing, because what he's doing is amazing, like no one else is doing. I can do it, you know. So he was just excited about that direction, you know, he was combining different things. So he's been doing this like, and he's I don't know if it's just recently, but he got back into skating. John Julio gave him some volos, and he has just been like telling me what he's been doing. He's been doing kind of trying to do like jump over, you know, his leg, like thread the needle type stuff, and other like grab. He was like grabbing a royale, but behind his leg, his front leg, and then he was saying he was trying to bring that front leg and bring it through his arm and his other foot, and then go to a royale again. I
Whoa!
don't know if you could visualize that,
Like a
but
thread the needle
yeah,
royale
yeah,
kind of.
yeah. Thread the needle royale.
Um, Damian Wilson's done kind of stuff like that, but without the arm grab.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Damien was a wizard with that stuff.
I'm still surprised there's some super innovative skaters who don't get mentioned enough because there's people who have like a very specific skill set that's really distinct.
Yeah,
Um, but then you don't see people trying to emulate it, you know?
yeah.
Like let me think, like for Julio the wall ride topsoul,
Uh huh.
you might see that a little bit more now, but for years nobody was doing it or nobody could do it.
Yeah, you know, I think back in the day, people did innovative things and then couldn't really, you know, do it. It was just like that was his thing, you know, and you didn't like, you either had to like do it even better to where it wouldn't be compared to it, or you just didn't do it. And what I just said is interesting because that was the mindset that I grew up with skating. It was like you watched a video and someone did something new and innovative, and you were like, oh man, that's a new direction to go in. But you didn't copy it exactly. You had to do it, you had to throw your own twist on it so that it, you know, wasn't didn't look like you mimicked them, even though you know, you were influenced by it, but then you added your own thing.
I feel like that's coming back a little bit too.
Yeah. I
Um, More style based.
Yeah, I think it is too. I think things have slowed down quite a bit,
Yeah.
but I think they're even speeding up. And I noticed this pattern in, it's out there a lot. Like, you look at Broskow and Farmer and those dudes, and there was the period where they were just like pushing the limits, like beyond limits, like Superman limits, Happy, they were doing that. And then you saw this kind of like slowdown period where they were not going gun ho anymore. And then there was this rise in people, and they were kind of talking trash, and they were like, "Oh, you can't do that anymore," or "Why doesn't he skate like that anymore?" or blah blah blah. But I almost think it was this like kind of natural, not regression, but this kind of like focusing more on some not simpler things, but less like, charging something and hucking it kind of thing, but like really fine tuning some of your style and stuff like that. And now you see people like, Broskow, he's combining this incredibly flawless, technical skating with big stuff too, even so much as you don't even notice sometimes that it is huge because it just looks so, fluid and easy.
I think about that a lot when I watch skating. When you
Yeah.
watch a skate video, it does. It looks like when you put your skates back on that you're going to be really good at skating. Like the way that I think of skating when I watch a skate video.
Yeah.
And then just it's the springtime and I have to royale something and it's really hard. It's really hard to get back into it.
Yeah, and it's hard not to get like discouraged and just say, "Oh man, forget this," because you have this like child energy inside of you that's just so pumped and knows what it wants to do, and then you got to wait for your body to like adjust, and there's this kind of patience period of being easy on yourself. And that's kind of actually what I was going through a bit today and the last like couple of times I skated, because my knee's been hurting. So I wasn't skating for like a month and a half, trying to really just like let it chill, because my knee is never hurt, like for any much longer than maybe a couple weeks or something. And it was like hurting. So I was kind of like tripping, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to chill, and was just doing some light stuff like, walking and kind of hiking and like yoga. And it only hurts when I like really bend my knee,
Yeah. Yeah.
if I'm just like walking or like, it's standing, it doesn't hurt, but it's, bending it a particular way. So when I went skating today, I'm like, I got ideas and stuff I want to do, and, I'm inspired to do, and got to remember that, like, it's been like a month and my body's not going to do exactly what I wanted to do. And it's really difficult because I'm really hard on myself. So it's hard not to get like discouraged and just go through the motions and make your body remember, and, and remember that once you do that, you will, be all right. You just got to put your body through the motions.
That I haven't had a super serious injury. The longest I was out was, I think, 3 months with an ankle, but I'll never forget when I thought I was okay to skate, and it was a sunny day at the Kamloops skate park, which you've probably seen pictures or videos of. It's amazing. It's like the best playground you've ever seen.
Oh man.
And I just remember feeling okay, and then it was just this one way that I bent my ankle. And the whole day was ruined, and then I think I was out again for a few more weeks. And it's the mental pain. It's not the physical pain.
Yeah, because you just want to play, It's like you're a little kid and you like, hurt yourself, and you're like, I just want to go outside and play. I just, just want to, it's really that simple, I think.
And so was it too soon to go skating today for you?
No, it doesn't hurt as much as it used to, and I'm trying to chill on it and not do too much, but that's also really hard too, because you put them on and you just want to go for it. So I was just trying to, at skate parks it's a lot better too, because you got transitions and there's not a whole lot of impact.
Yeah.
but I've been like I'll skate today, and then maybe I won't skate for another couple of days, and then I'll skate again. That's kind of what I've been doing the last week to try and like feel it out and not push it too much.
And was it from a specific, like something in skating, or
No,
started hurting?
actually, no. That's why it was actually a bummer, because it just started hurting. I mean, I'm sure there was something, but there wasn't anything like I hit it and then I was like, oh crap, it hurts now. It was just like, I'm noticing that when I bend forward on my knee, it hurts.
Which is it your wait, do you have unnatural? Does Robert
Yeah,
have an unnatural?
yeah. On my good days, on my really, really, really good days, I feel like I don't, but but yeah, it's on my. Well, you know what? That's really weird, because a lot of my strong tricks are on my right, but I would say that my left foot is my natural.
Like that thing that they say when you try and get fitted for a snowboard and they push you over, the leg that
Uh-huh.
you land on, that's your left. If someone pushes you,
It's my right.
is it?
Yeah.
So then, but like let's just say, wait a minute. So you sole with your
Well,
right
I sew with both. I guess my right is really my natural,
for
but I
Royale?
started off, yeah, no, for like Fishbrain and Sweat Stance and
Okay.
Mizu and Farvanugan. But when I very first started, Soul, Royale, even Nugans were all left foot, and then over time it went to my right.
Really?
But if I'm in a far side soul like a big ass king throw, I'm gonna do it with my left.
And that was what you started on.
Yeah, that's what I started on.
Interesting. We tried
Yeah.
to teach Dana's little brother to learn everything switch first
Uh huh.
and then go to natural.
Huh.
And he became really good and had a bunch of weird skills just based off of that.
Huh.
I wish I could give myself that advice because I have no switch.
Yeah.
And if I do, it's awful.
Yeah, but you're all about like movement. You're just like movement
It's
kind
true.
of like focus. So when it comes to getting technical and how you want to think about what's difficult and not difficult and what makes something, you know, better, because it's switch or whatever, that doesn't really concern you, it seems to me.
No, no, it's only if I'm moving into something and I feel like it has to be into a grind that just happens to be switch, I'll try and do it. That's
Yeah,
about it.
that's kind of how I am too. But I
Uh,
remember I remember there was a time when switch was a big deal, It was huge. And
uh,
you got a lot of I guess got a lot of respect for if you could do something switch.
it's so true. Some of the older guys that we used to skate with when we first got into skating would look at our skate on
Mm.
the other side and they would go, "Where's the switch?" Because they could see that we had no grooves or anything. The skate would just look fucking brand new on the
Yeah.
other side. And I still, to this day, I mean, I might be able to get through a game of Blade
Uh-huh.
with some sketchy ass switch here and there,
Yeah.
but I'm not gonna feel good about it.
When I was in Canada this last summer, I don't know why, but I got the urge to learn switch sweat stance, and I made myself learn it, and it felt so good.
Are we
And huh?
are we talking about like on ledges or on rails? Because I have that trick on rails, not dangerous ones.
Yeah, yeah. Well, just like at the ledge and the P rail and the quarter pipe at like the skate park that was
Yeah.
there. But I finally got it down, and I was so happy because it reminded me of a time when I was playing skate with John Starr, and he busted that, and I like busted my ass like really bad trying to do it. Like I had no idea what was going on. I didn't. My legs just like totally didn't know what they were doing, and I ate it. So when I finally I got it down and I got comfortable on it, I was like, yes.
I,
Because that also sweat stance was when it was first getting popular, was a really like respected trick, and some people did it just like wow, like just flawless.
I love that trick.
Yeah.
And did you find what was your trick that helped break it down? Because for me, it was pud slide. Switch sweat stances on rails. It more feels like a pud slide, like more weight on my
Yeah.
back foot. So I don't know how.
Well, for me, I was, when I was at the gym at Matthew Ledoux's gym, I was really trying to focus on being in a certain position when I'm skating, kind of like almost. I think it's like a horse stance. It's like a martial arts horse stance, and you're always coming from this one stance. And it was kind of like a bent. It's kind of like Chris Farmer. When you look at Chris Farmer and he's skating and he's about to do something, he's like ready. He's kind of squatted, but not like super squatted. He's like in this like attack kind of mode. It seems like to me.
I love that
And
shit.
and so, I was realizing that I wasn't really like this, and I was kind of more of a stand-up guy. And so I was really trying to focus on keeping my body like that. And I also found that when you're in this stance, your muscles are activated, like they're ready, you're not completely relaxed. And then you go from relaxed to like activate and then jump and do the stuff. Like you're already activated in your glutes and your thighs, and they're ready to go. And mine weren't like that. And I kind of noticed that. So I was like, well, how could being in this stance like change my skating? And it's really tough and I got really frustrated quite a bit, and I still do now. I mean, I try to focus on it now, but because you skate for 20 years the same way, it's like hard to change that kind of fundamental thing. But I was, really focusing on it. I was doing really well. And I found that if I kind of had this stance when I was doing grinds and kind of stayed low and tight, kind of like how Vinnie Minton skates. He's very compact, and like his style is like, it's amazing, and he has so much control. And I thought there was something to this. And I was practicing in it, and I found that there is something to that. There's like a stance that you can be in that's more favorable than other stances. And so I was practicing this with different grinds, and that's really what helped me do the sweat stance the switch sweat stance was that I was compact and I was kind of squatted, and then I just kind of like put my feet there and stayed in this kind of like zone on it. It's kind of hard to explain, but I found that when I was in this zone, I was more precise and I was more balanced, and I just felt more confident on grinds. And so I actually started using this for all my grinds. And then I was like, wow, this is like a whole different world. I feel so much more at ease and more confident about locking something. Because when you don't feel good and then you go and try to lock something, you have that feeling where you're like kind of scared because maybe you don't know your body's going to do what you just told it to do, or you're not as confident, or you kind of throw your legs at something and hoping that it'll lock and it doesn't, and you eat it on your shin or something. But I find when you're in this particular stance, it's like you're ready to go and you're strong and you're confident, and it's really awesome, but it's also really hard to keep at and reminding your body to stay in that.
We have so much to talk about. That's already like, that makes me think of so many different side roads that we could go down. But I do know that when I do sweat stances, I've never actually thought about it, but I totally go into that position.
Yeah.
And sweat stance is one of my more, when I do it, I feel like I'm drawing on lots of strength. Whereas if I try and do like a soyelle or something, I am just throwing my body. I miss soyelles all the time because I'm totally stand up. And how tall are you?
5'9".
5'9". So you're a taller skater in terms of the average height of pro rollerbladers.
I guess so. I've always kind of thought to be normal, but I mean, there are quite a few shorter, really good rollerbladers.
Like if we talk about Vinnie Minton, Frankie Morales, CJ Wellsmore, Soichiro.
Yeah. Oh man, he's the king of that, dude. He blows my mind. He's one of my favorite skaters, like hands down. And At a different time era, I think he'd probably be considered like one of the best.
Yeah,
Period.
I I totally get that.
Yeah.
He has the Vinnie Minton thing, hey?
Yeah, they and those people, they just have it naturally.
I swear it's a certain build too.
Yeah, I really agree too. Like Ian McLeod is the same thing, and I mean you can go down a list of all the people, and they're all people that I'm, you know, sometimes jealous of in that way because it's something that I have to actually think about, and it's a really good thing to be able to do in terms of longevity on your body because there's so much impact in what we do. And if your legs aren't absorbing the energy properly, then that shock goes to your knee joint and then to your hip joint and then to your back. And you can see it, like, because the energy's got to go somewhere. And if you don't absorb it in your muscles, then it's just like shocking your ankles and your knees and your back. And I've always, I consider myself more of a stand-up guy, even though I can bend in certain, on certain tricks I can bend, but it's definitely not something that happens all the time, especially when you're doing something big or something fast and you're really just thinking about landing something and you're not thinking about, how you're absorbing or how you're landing because, that's not something that's taught. And people that can do it, it's just something that they just do.
That's really interesting because I consider myself a stand-up skater, and when I do take that pose, I feel exactly that. I feel very posy, and I
Uh-huh.
feel like I'm imitating something that's not me. So did you have trouble like,
A little bit. There was sometimes because I was doing it like every day when I was going skating there. And I was like, what if am able to fully just hold on to this and it transforms my skating? Like, what do people think? That thought came up. It wasn't a long lasting thought, but it definitely came up and was like, what do people think you're, trying to skate like blah, blah, blah. And it didn't last very long because it's a pretty ridiculous thing to think. But yeah, it had crossed my mind like
so
a little bit.
is there a what's your most recent edit that like have you made something since that revelation?
Well, I got back and I did the rollerblade edit, but I don't think it's as noticeable. Like maybe if you watched it, you might notice something, but I don't think so. It's like I said, it's really difficult to condition your body to keep doing that. It's like something you got to think about every single time. And so then you get to this point that's kind of hard because you're used to just going skating and having fun and not thinking about kind of like with a training mentality. You're used to just like, I'm going to do these tricks that make me feel good
Yeah.
because that's why I do this. I do this to make me feel good. Um, so that's always been like a struggle, like, and it's definitely something that wouldn't even change over probably like doing it a month every day in a row because there's so many aspects of skating that you've conditioned yourself to do things physically a particular way. Like there's doing a grind forward and landing forward, but then there's doing a grind and landing backwards. Then there's doing a grind, jumping off a certain way and spinning and landing. And if you're used to, doing it the same way, those are all like very complex mechanics. So it's a lot of, and then there's the frustration that you're not doing it the way you want to do it and you're doing it the old way. And I often, I come across those frustrations a lot in my life because I just have a hard time being patient with myself and not doing things, how I want them to be done.
It,
And then you're getting older, and I'm 32, which is not old, but when you skate for so long, doing something that's so physically demanding on your body with absolutely no training and no proper recovery or proper, exercise to be doing what we're doing. It's like your body, you're just putting yourself through so much and you don't realize it until you're like 32, and then your body's not responding, as quickly as it used to. And that's frustrating as hell too. And I know that's what a lot of older skaters, especially from my generation, I've seen go through, because in their minds, they just want to do, they remember what it felt like. They remember what the tricks they did, but their bodies are in a different place, And for what we do, especially like the, younger people now, people like Montre and Alex and, those kind of very technical, like crazy skaters, you would look at them, probably someone outside of the sport that is into sports, or maybe someone that does martial arts and trains all the time, and be like, man, you probably do some intense training and this and that, huh? And it's like, no, no, because what we're doing is like, sometimes it's even more crazier than what people are doing that they're training every day for.
That's a really good point, and I think that's why people like Broskow and Farmer and people who have pushed it so hard for so long, their skating has to evolve in a different direction because it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
And the torch is ready to be passed anyway. I mean, I brought it up, but how many good sections have those guys put out?
Oh my God.
So,
yeah, I really can't even count, especially during that particular period of time as well.
yeah.
And and I was going to say, you could continue to be doing things a certain way if that was your drive and you were smart about it. But if that was your inclination and you were inspired to do that. But you know what? People change, and what was exciting about certain things isn't always exciting anymore. And sometimes it was exciting because there was some form of like feedback of approval you were getting as well, and recognition.
Yeah.
And a lot of, when you're growing up and you're young and you're good at something, like, you're really feeding off that, like you're getting recognition from your peers, you're getting recognition from maybe professionals that are already in it. You're getting, you're getting this kind of like energy from that, and it makes you feel better and all this stuff. But if, that's the only reason, eventually you'll kind of run dry from that, and you have to find ways to fulfill yourself, like to create that yourself, or you don't. And there's a balance of that. I mean, it's not black and white by any means, but that's just kind of one way it goes sometimes.
Hey, this sounds like you're speaking from experience yourself.
It totally is. It's something I'm still going through. That's why I'm able to speak on it.
This is where, again, I'm so frustrated. There's so many different places I can
Don't
take
get
this from
frustrated.
here.
We're good.
I know.
We're both we're still alive, and you're still doing podcasts, so
that is good.
We don't feel the frustration of trying to squeeze everything into one thing.
I mean, we could do a 2-hour special on Rob G and the IMYTA. Like,
that's a big dude. That is a huge one. You don't even know what you're asking when you're telling me that, because there's some like big stories around that period of my life, and like the changes I was going through, and all of that. Like, I mean, let's do that for sure. That's let's get to your goal. What was your goal? Like 200 or something by the 2015?
Yeah, before the end of the new year,
yeah.
200.
Yeah. And I really think you guys got a nice ball rolling with your podcasts and getting in different people, and I think it's great.
Oh, thank you. Well, I hope you can be on a bunch of times, because
yeah, well, I'm here, so it's just up to you guys.
Excellent.
And how you want to organize it, and how you want it to go into other ones, because that's an interesting thing too. If you have more freedom with other people, you can direct it a different way,
Oh
or
yeah, that's
you can direct it a certain way. And if you start to observe the old podcasts, maybe you'll see like a pattern forming, like particular patterns that are just naturally occurring, and then you can fine tune and follow those and find a flow within the podcasts.
I haven't thought of that.
Yeah.
That's why I wish we had like a mushroom blading intern that was doing metadata for all the podcasts because we talk about so much stuff, and if every
Yeah.
podcast had a link to every single thing that
Yeah.
was referenced, it would be such a good resource
Yeah.
just historically for
Yeah.
rollerblading.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I still get surprised the things that come up and the new things that I think about. That's probably one of my favorite things about doing these. Because already, like, I can't remember the last time I thought about IMYTA, but I think of you when I think of IMYTA. So I think
Oh, nice.
we would save that for a full episode.
Yeah,
Um,
totally. There's a lot to discuss about that too. That's a lot of really interesting, personal experiences
the,
that surround that for me and that time period.
yeah, well, yeah, we won't go there. We won't go there. But this will be a segue into I want to talk about the retreat. Is that what it's
Oh,
called?
yeah.
You're someone who, even before I got into kind of different ways of thinking and being a little bit healthier,
Uh-huh.
um, you're someone who's always experimented with diet and different exercise things and stretching. And when did that start for you?
That started when I um talking about IMYTA. This kind of goes around to that time. Um I was living in San Diego, and I didn't have a car. My mom needed to move there. She was having a hard time finding work where we were, and so she was like, "Do you want to come with me to San Diego?" And this was right after I won IMYTA. And I was like, "Yeah, I'll go with you." And I went out there, and I didn't have a car, and I wasn't living around anyone. I was living in La Mesa, and I was actually there's this kink trail that's in a ton of videos, and you would know it if you saw it. It goes down a grass hill and it curves and it's really long.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And a bunch of people do really crazy stuff on it. Shima, like Zero, Farside Leap, Souls it. I Tremiza'd it. It was the first and only Tremiza I've ever done on a rail, I think.
And it was on a kink? Of course it was.
Just weird like that sometimes. But I actually used to skate that rail by myself all the time with my mini disc player and my headphones, and because I didn't live around anyone. But it was kind of a bummer time, just because I was so far from everything and I didn't have my crew to skate with and all that. So time went on, and I ended up wanting to go back to San Jose. So I had contacted my aunt, and she said I could come stay. So I went there, and my mood like immediately kind of got enhanced again, and I was around my friends. I had a car, and then for some reason, I felt like I wanted to try being vegetarian. And I was actually, at the time, I was hanging out with Ezekwe and V. Do you know V?
Yeah. I wonder
Uh,
where actually I was going to ask where is he, but we don't want to go off. But
yeah.
V from
He's
Life Plus and
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
And so me and him were really good friends during that period of time. And we would visit Ezekwe quite often. And Ezekwe was vegetarian. And then one day he just showed me some stretches. And I just, for whatever reason, I never got into stretching. And I just got excited. So I was like eating vegetarian, and I was stretching and running every single morning. And I just got really into it there. And then from then on, I've kind of fluctuated, like, all over the place. Sometimes I'd eat meat and sometimes I wouldn't. I tried to do like raw food stuff. I've just experimented with so many different things, because when I get into something, I really get into it, So that's kind of just like what it is. That's how I am. And if something's new and I see that it, can do something for me, I like try it. And it doesn't necessarily mean that I, stick with it 100%, like, all the time. But I do try things and try many things. And then when you're into something, you research it, and you find other people that are doing it and what it's doing and all that, which has led me to like where I'm at right now, which is kind of funny. And it's just, I'm just feeling out what is good for me and just like my body individually. And I wouldn't even say that I'm like 100%, like gung-ho focused on that, because sometimes I'm kind of like, depending on where I'm at and what food is around me, I'm not strict anymore. That's what shifted, is I would get really strict about what I was doing, and it wasn't really healthy for me at all. And I come to find that there is no one right diet. It's every single individual is specific, and there's something they need to find out what it is for themselves that makes them work, because there's no one thing that works for everybody. I've met people that are raw foodists and all they eat is raw food and they thrive, and it works for them. It didn't work for me. I got really skinny and unhealthy, and I didn't realize it until I stopped. But I was like, okay, I did that, and I tried it, but it's not for me. And I actually find that anything extreme that I, try to do is not always the best for me. So it's like it's a day-to-day learning experience, for me, and finding out, what exactly works and what doesn't work, and then trying my best to stay with the things that do work.
So I'll just name a few things, and you can tell me if any of these has stuck. So,
Okay.
yerba mate, do you still drink
Oh
it?
yeah, dude. That's an on and off going thing. Sometimes I drink it heavily. Sometimes I like it makes me too airy, I guess you could say, or it's like too mental, because I'm a very like mental person. So it gets me wrapped up too much in my thoughts sometimes, which sometimes is fun, and sometimes I can get into really wild conversations with people, and really get really creative, and it brings out these things as well. But I try to chill on that sometimes. It's my life is very up and down.
Okay, that was the first one. That's an
Yeah,
awesome answer.
yeah,
Foam rolling.
yeah.
Do you still?
I still do that. I should be doing it more, but I do that. I have two. I have like it's called Power Systems, and it's probably like $40, and it's a travel one, so it's kind of small. And then I have one called the Rumble Roller, which is this like studded one, and it's gnarly, and it's like deep tissue massage. But these are things that I think every single rollerblader should have and utilize, because it saves your legs. I mean, I remember there was one time I was skating with Lonnie, and we were filming for something, and we had skated all day, and got out of the car, and my legs just like didn't want to do anything. And in fact, there was a rail that wasn't even high, and I just tried to jump on it, and my legs were just like, oh. It's like I was just like, it was like I was 12 and I was learning how to jump on a rail again. And I was just like, man, but I still want to skate. But I had the foam roller in the trunk, so I busted it out. I did it for like 10 minutes, and my legs just felt like brand new.
Really?
Yeah, because it gets the blood circulating, it loosens up your knots, and really just like rejuvenates your legs. Also, on a side note, for people that are listening to this, one practice that I stumbled upon when I was in New York, I went and got a massage, and I was in a chair, and I was in Chinatown, and this Asian man was like doing this kind of like beating thing on my back with his knuckles, like kind of punching me, but like not punching me, like
Yeah.
in between like punching and like, I don't know. And I was just like, wow, that feels so great. And one day I was on a run when I was living in Santa Cruz, and my legs started hurting, and I was kind of getting bummed because I was, enjoying my run. And then I just started wailing on my thighs, like as comfortable to me as possible. Like I wasn't trying to hurt myself. There's a medium between like hurt and like too soft. So I just started punching my thighs, and I was punching them just like, I don't know if you could hear this. It's like, can you
Yeah.
hear that?
Yeah.
So it was just like that. And I was like doing my thighs, and then I did my calves. And then I was just like experimenting, and I started punching my like forearms and my biceps, and even did a little bit on my head, like softly. And I just did it all over. And when I got up, I was just like, wow, like there's something about it. I couldn't break it down for you because I don't really understand the science of what it's doing. I'm sure it's getting blood flowing and like doing stuff like that. But I just felt totally rejuvenated. And when I can remember to do this when I'm out skating too, it's a very helpful, easy, simple tool to do, to have.
Wow. So it's almost like having a studded foam, not a foam roller, but the reason the studs would be on the foam roller would be the same reason you would punch yourself, punch your
Kinda, yeah.
muscles. Little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah, a little bit. And you can see, I think, there's martial artists that do this, or they have trainers and they do that. So I do that. And then just to mention one more thing is the stick. Have you ever heard of the stick?
What is the stick?
The stick is this like, it's a stick, essentially. It's like this plastic stick, and it has two grips, one on each end. And then there's these plastic rings around the stick, and it kind of bends, and you press that on your muscles.
Oh, I have seen those.
And that is another like must-have tool for every rollerblader. That's another thing. That's another good thing to do before and after. That just makes your legs feel like brand new.
Oh, amazing. This is all good stuff.
Yeah.
I have a third one. So it was
Okay.
yerba mate, foam
Uh-huh.
roller. And were you using those Vibram the
Yeah, I still have those, and yeah, I do still use those. Although I need to get some new ones. Those things get funky.
Oh oh, I can imagine.
They get so funky, but they're really awesome. I still use those, and then sometimes I'll just do just straight up barefoot, like running as well, depending on where you are, like what the dirt's like.
Yeah.
And even on concrete, it's nice. And people, they trip out when they see you. They're like, "What are you doing? Like, you're running on the concrete? Doesn't that hurt?" But it has to do with your form and where you're landing when when your foot's hitting the ground, and you're not landing on your heel. You're landing like on the kind of like the middle of your foot, and then your heel kind of lands. So. I've been doing that for a while, so I kind of like conditioned myself to land a particular way. So before you get into Vibrams or barefoot stuff, you really need to take it easy, because you'll jack yourself up, and people are getting injured all the time. My brother-in-law, he's a pretty big dude, and he wears Vibrams, and he runs like 6 miles, 10 miles. He's so used to it, but you really got to ease into it if you're looking into doing that.
So you don't use do you jog in regular shoes very often?
I actually have some really nice minimalist not Vibrams, some minimalist New Balance shoes that Jess Darenforth gave me. Do you ever see any pictures of Jess Darenforth on Facebook or Instagram or anything?
He always seems like he's in really good shape for his
Dude,
age.
he is, man. He is like running so much, and he helps. He's I don't know how you put this. There's people that do ultra marathons. Have you ever heard of an ultra marathon?
Marathon's a lot, so I don't even know what an ultra.
Okay, an ultra is like 150 to 100 plus miles
What? How?
straight.
What? Really?
Yeah, that's a whole nother world that would blow your mind, like blow your mind. And he got on this crew for a guy, because each guy that's running has their own crew, and it's like you got someone that is I think maybe making sure your muscles are all right, and then making sure that you're not going into any kind of like particular health. I don't know how to describe it, but maybe you look like you're gonna die. Maybe you're showing signs of like, you know, you know, really bad dehydration or something like that. So you have a crew that's like checking in on you. Because Jess Darenforth told me that like these dudes get in these zones, and it's like because they're running for like I don't know how many hours like straight, and they said they get in these zones where they can't like hear anything or like they just are in this full zone. So he became a part of this crew, and then he really got into it. So he's starting to really get into it. And the average age, I think he told me, for these ultra marathon runners, there are people in their like late 40s and 50s.
What?
Yeah, like there's something about when you get to that age, doing long distance endurance stuff, it's like you can just do it. So a lot of the people that are doing it are a lot older. So he is running all the time, and he's training for that like all the time. So he's in like really good health. And there was a period where I used to actually go run with him quite a bit. And a chill run for him is like 9 or 10 miles.
Holy shit.
Like that's just he's chilling. So he gave me some shoes. So anytime too, I really like to elaborate and go off on things on my own.
That's my thing too. I love it.
So I'm just doing that.
Well, and the shoes have special powers if Jess Deerenforth gave them to you.
Yes. Yeah, they're awesome. I've had them for over a year now. I've done like 2 Tough Mudders in them. I do a lot of the trail runs that I do are in them. So yeah.
And do you run daily or what?
No, I mean with my knee hurting,
that's right.
I haven't been running at all really. Even though it doesn't hurt to run, I still have kind of like, been chilling on it. I've been doing a little more hiking, and that doesn't hurt. It's just when I bend my knee to a certain angle is when it hurts. Like when you land a trick and you bend your knees, and maybe like some grinds, it kind of hurts. So I haven't been doing any running.
Isn't the high after exercise one of the best highs you can
get?
Yeah,
running especially too. Because if you can do anything that's rhythmic, and you're doing it over and over again, and then you're just like focusing on your breath and you're focusing on your body and your movements, and you get out of your head and your normal kind of thinking patterns that are always circulating and stealing your energy every day, and you come to the present moment and you're in your body, and you get part of that is a part of that high. It's just like, you're like, holy shit, I'm alive right now. I'm here. I'm not thinking about the past or the future, which may, lead into the whole meditation Vipassana thing.
Nice segue,
Yeah,
Robert
yeah.
Guerrero.
Yeah, well, I just noticed that it was doing that naturally, so I like to ride the waves.
Let's do it then.
All right, let's do it.
So then, related to exercise, so yeah, being in the present moment,
Yeah,
just getting out of your head,
yeah,
doing something rhythmic. So
yeah.
your retreat that you went on,
Yeah.
How many days was it?
It was 10 days.
10 days, and it was
Yeah.
a silent retreat.
Yeah, it was a silent retreat. You were able to talk only to, they had like 4 teachers there, and you were only able to ask them questions about the technique, or maybe you were going through something and you wanted some kind of counsel about what you were going through. I mean, they wouldn't counsel you on like what you were going through, but they would counsel you on using the technique, and letting go of whatever you were going through.
Wow. I didn't know it was 10 days. I thought it was shorter than that.
No, it was 10 days. It was very intense 10 days.
Did it feel more like a year? Or
you know what? It went really fast, surprisingly.
and no technology anywhere.
None.
And did you have to apply for this, or how?
Yeah. You they have them all over. They probably have one where you are. They got them all over the world. And you send in an application. and then you wait for a response, and then you are maybe put on a waiting list because people sign up for these things like months in advance.
And what was the inspiration originally?
I had a friend who did it. I had a few friends who did it years ago, like maybe 6 years ago. And I just noticed how they looked after. They just noticeably looked different, kind of more calm and more like relaxed. Um, so I saw that it did something, and I was just like, wow, So there was one time I signed up for it, and I got accepted, and I went on a skating trip or something, so I didn't go. And then there was another time, and I was on a waiting list, and then they never called me. And then this time, actually, I was at my sister's house, and I was in the backyard using my phone for something, and I just got the thought to do it. And normally, like, I go into my head and I start, thinking about maybe why it's not possible, or maybe it's too late. You start thinking of all these, things. But that only happened for maybe like, 5 seconds, and then I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna go sign up. So I went on my phone and I signed up, and they were like, okay, your application's accepted. And so I thought that meant that I was like going. So I was all pumped. I think I posted something on Instagram and like Facebook that I was, excited to do this. So I thought I was excited I was going, but then they sent me a message saying, but you're on a waiting list, and, you may not be able to go. So I was like, okay. And they were like, well, there's another one happening earlier, and you can, it's bigger, so you have a better chance. Do you want us to forward your, registration? And at first I was like, no, because it was over Christmas and New Year's, and, for some reason I was feeling like I couldn't miss those things. So at first I was like, no, but then a couple of days went by, and then I realized that I really wanted to do it. So I was just like, okay, forward my registration. And they were like, okay, you're on a waiting list for this one. And I was like, oh, all right. They were like, if we contact you the day before, will you be able to go? And I said, yes. So they called me like halfway through the day before it started. And I said, yes. And so like I quickly found stuff I needed, had like a family little pre-Christmassy breakfast and stuff with my family. And then I just drove, and it was like 2 hours away from where I'm at.
And how do you even begin to describe the experience of being quiet for 10 days?
The being quiet part wasn't hard for me. It was just, there are certain moments that are just very intense, because part of the technique is that you don't react to your thoughts. And when you don't react to your thoughts, there's patterns that arise. And there's patterns going on all day, every day in your mind. Like, you're thinking about stuff all the time. There's stuff you're not even aware of that you're thinking about that you're thinking about. And on different levels of consciousness, there's deeper and there's more subtle ones. And so, but when you don't react, these patterns kind of come up, and I guess you could say, like, through not reacting, they disintegrate. They start to kind of lose life because you're not feeding them by reacting to them. Because it's like, you maybe one day, you're like not having a good day and you're kind of freaking out about something, so you turn on the TV and you watch a movie. Or, you're angry about this, so you go golfing. Or, you know what I mean? Like, there's these things that you do when you feel certain ways because you don't want to feel those things anymore. But those things, those patterns that arose that made you, do whatever it is you did, are still there, and they're going to come up again, and then you're going to do the same thing over and over again. But with this practice, it's about, not reacting and remaining calm through the ups and downs of life. And it's not just negative things, it's positive things too. And it's, because your thoughts exist like in your past and in your future. So, your mind is always like jumping back and forth between the past and the future, seeking pleasure or avoiding pain, or avoiding situations that you feel will bring you pain. And so this past and future is always, your mind is always there and you're never present, which is the only like real reality, kind of. It's like we're here, and the past and the future exist in our minds, but we're always just here. And we miss out, on a lot being present and in the moment and in our bodies, having this human experience, doing our day-to-day stuff and enjoying life, I guess you could say. So it's just getting rid of all these patterns, essentially. I'm trying to break this down in a, simple way, and not in a way where I feel, I'm sounding like I know everything about it, but
no, it's good.
Yeah. So it's just like observing your thoughts and what they do to you and how you react to them and how they control you and keep you from being present in your body. And so, like, you're not supposed to react. So you got an itch on your face or something, you're not supposed to itch it. And guess what? It builds up and becomes an anger, you become really furious and angry, and then you're not supposed to react to that, and you're just supposed to sit there and keep breathing and be aware of your body. And there's a whole technique that is involved with you scanning your body with your awareness and just like feeling your body and kind of getting grounded in your body. And it's pretty in depth, so I won't really go into that. But the basic thing is that you're constantly bringing your awareness to the present, which is very real. Your breath, which is always here and it's always now. Your body, which is always here and now and changing, and all of that, and not so much in your mind where you're thinking about the past and why you should have did that this way, and how someone hurt you and how you hurt them and how that made you feel, and then you go into the future and how you want this and want that and how this is going to make you better and that's going to be better, and oh no, I shouldn't do that, how am I going to avoid this in the future, how am I going to avoid that? It's this endless like cycle, and it really drains your energy. And the past is gone, and the future, you're not there yet. So all you can really do is, act in the present, from the present to the, best of your ability. And if you're always reacting and living in the past and the future, you're never here. And so you're just continuously creating, something that is the past, or, based out of fear, or, wanting pleasure or avoiding pain, and stuff like that. So it's just, you kind of like letting go of all these patterns. And the way he broke it down in the very beginning was, he's like, what you're about to do is you're about to perform brain surgery on yourself. And what you're going to do is, it's like you're going in your brain and you're just going to go deeper and deeper, and you basically, this pus starts coming out. It's all the patterns, all the negative and positive patterns from the past and future, and how you feel about that and think about that. And it's going to start coming out, and you just go deeper and deeper, and you're basically going deeper and deeper into your subconscious, so you can get to the root of these patterns and just really let them go, so you can be free to, create from the present moment, anew, and not from the past, or from seeking pleasure or pain or avoiding pain in the future. So you start to go through all your thoughts, you don't go through them, they just come up. And you're not reacting to them because you're sitting in a room that's quiet with, I think there was like 300 something people, and the men are on the left and the women are on the right, and everyone's just quiet. And you're sitting in this room, sometimes for an hour, sometimes for an hour and a half. and you're just practicing this technique of focusing on your breath and being aware of your body and the sensations you feel on your body, and then thoughts just come up and you just let them go, and you just let them go and you just let them go, and you're just doing that the whole time.
Wow. And is this so is there a series of those meditations, or do you also just have a lot of time alone, like in a
Yeah,
room
you're, I mean, 11, I think I calculated this correct, 11 and a half hours of the day you're meditating.
with other people?
No, you can if you want to, because there's a hall.
Yeah.
You can also go back to your room and, you know, sit there by yourself. But there's mandatory ones where you have to go to the main hall and be with everyone else.
So there's a clock somewhere?
Yeah. Well, actually, you know, there is technology, and that's what you're only allowed like a clock, so you can, you know, stay on track on schedule of like where you need to be and you know when.
A clock like in your phone?
No, not on the phone. You give up your phones when you first go.
Good thing. There's a
Yeah.
clock on the wall then.
Yeah, and can have your own little alarm clock.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Is it in like a beautiful nature location? Because that's
Yeah.
how I saw it in my head.
Yeah, it is. You totally saw it correctly. That's
Um,
exactly what it was.
and does that probably helps you stay in the
Oh
present?
yeah, it's so amazing because you appreciate these times when you're not meditating. Especially in the beginning. In the beginning, it's like you're like, okay, I gotta go meditate, and then once you're done, you're like, okay, now I'm out. Now I got to break. You know, eventually, like halfway through and a little bit further, like you're really making use of the time to meditate every chance you get, because it's a very special environment that you'll never have anywhere else, basically. But you know, you walk down a trail to the main hall, and it's like a dirt trail, and it's beautiful. And you wake up at 4 in the morning, and the moon's still out, and that's awesome. And you're way out there, and you see all the stars, and then you know you come out of meditation, and it's still dark, and then you take a nap, and then you come out, and the sun's starting to come out, and then the sun is just like, you know, it was really awesome and funny because you're not talking to anyone, and you're only with other men. Like the men and the women are separate, so it's kind of like almost like a silent men's retreat in some respect. And you're hanging out with a bunch of dudes, and it's like there's certain moments where the sun is out and everyone is just like in the sun, just standing there, just like appreciating the sun or the moon or the stars, like, and you it's like these things are like your treasures, you know, or these things are like the things you can enjoy when you're not, you know, going through all of, you know, your memories and your thoughts and your emotions and your, you know, all of that. So it was really interesting to participate in that.
Wow. It's amazing how words aren't that important in situations like that. Everybody knows that the moon is amazing in that moment, at the sun is amazing, and it's almost better if nobody says anything and everyone's just marveling at it.
Yeah, it was something that, you know, you don't ever really see. It's just like people enjoying simple things. But when you're there and the majority of time is spent meditating and that's it, it's kind of like you're in jail almost in one sense. Because, you know, you eat your food, and then when you're meditating, it's like going to your cell or something, because that's all you're doing, you know?
And you
It's
can't
kind of,
write? You can't.
no writing.
Wow.
No visualizing, no practicing anything else.
Wow.
And you are just using this very simple technique that the Buddha used.
So, what was the yeah, what were the no, maybe as much as you can say, what were some of the darkest things that popped up? Um,
You know, there was moments where it was like, and I want to say that it comes from scary movies when I was a little kid. but there's just like random scenes of like, like you would see in a scary movie.
Oh, I get that shit all the
Like there
time.
was like all of a sudden there was like this white bathroom, and then there was like blood splattered on it, and I was just like, what the, like, why am I, and then there's like another scene where there's a knife coming at me and someone trying to stab me or something, and I'm like, what, like, and everyone is going through this, like, and you find out at the end because on the last day you can talk to everyone, but yeah, it was like that kind of stuff. And then there was one particular moment where I had a very uh, like samurai moment, and and like my knees started hurting, because not to mention my knee was hurting, but you're sitting there, so my knees were hurting.
Yeah.
And in this moment, I decided that, you know what, I'm not going to react. I'm just going to be with it. And so my knees started hurting, and it was towards the end. My knees started hurting, and then I started getting like particular itches, like on my face or on my back, and then that created this like anger, like this crazy, like this wild anger, and I was just like, whoa. And so I'm like not reacting to that, you know what I mean, like doing my best to just observe it and like let it go and not go into it and not give it any power or anything, because you also practice equanimity, and equanimity is all experiences that arise are equal, no matter whether they're good, they're the best thing that's ever happened or the worst thing that's ever happened. You kind of train your mind to see everything as equal. And so so in life, when things are going up and down, everything goes up and down and everyone goes through ups and downs, it's just the way of life, you can maintain this kind of like steady on, this like, kind of knowing that that's just what life does, and you have the power to remain, balanced during it, because you're not attaching to either or. Like you're not attaching to the highs and you're not attaching to the lows. You're not craving the highs and you're not trying to run away from the lows. So so you practice this like equanimity thing, and you remind yourself of these things, so you don't give these things any more energy than than they have, and they're just arising and you're just letting them go. So it was just like my knees were hurting, and then I was having this itch, and then my I was like getting angry, and then it was just all building up like a volcano, and my arm was like twitching because I really just wanted to get up or just like yell or express it. I just wanted to express it. And that's what the whole practice is. The whole practice is about not like reacting to it and expressing it. It's just like kind of just letting it run its course and pass through. So I was like really angry, and I had like a visualization of like getting up and like being King Kong and smashing through walls and stuff. It was so funny. Like it was so hilarious. Like I'm just observing myself going through this thing, and then there came to a point where I was like, no, I'm going to stick through this. I'm going to stick through this. I'm going to not react. I'm going to chill. I'm not going to itch. I'm just going to sit here and breathe. And I made it through the end of the meditation, and I just felt like because there was this moment where I just felt like I was like a samurai, and I probably shouldn't even have been doing that. That was probably like, you know what I mean? But I just like I like straightened my back, and I like sat tall, and I was just like, I'm going through this, and then the meditation was over, and I even pushed it further because I was still feeling discomfort from my knees and whatever, but I just like maintained this calmness, and I actually like smiled during it and smiled through it. And it was really awesome to be able to react, kind of like with a smile of like gratitude that these things were happening, because it's good that these things are happening because they're coming out. You know what I mean? You're learning to actually deal with them on an experiential level. You're doing something with these, thoughts. I mean, you're not doing something, but you're like letting them go. You're actually you're just letting them go. So so when you're, and the main teacher during these videos, when he's talking, he's like, when you're going through these really tough moments, he's like, put a smile on your face, because it is during these moments that you're able to really do the work and like let go of these things. And it's like you're really working on these things. Like most of the time when bad things happen to us, we go down to this like negative spiral, like why me? Is it, because I'm this way? Is it because I did that? And it's just like this never ending like thing, and then it happens again, and you do the same thing over and over again, and it doesn't do anything, but shit happens sometimes, no matter what you do. And you can learn to not react to it and not add to it, and also see it as just shit happening, because shit happens.
Shit does happen, and
Yeah,
I've seen you King Kong in skate videos before.
oh yeah, dude, yeah. So totally, totally. And it's funny because I did a really, over my years of being in skating and having interviews and stuff, I've done a really good job of, projecting the image of like the Zen dude, and as always calm. And I am calm, and not all the time, and sometimes inside there is like anger and rage and stuff, but I think it's because I've done my best to not have it affect anyone. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, okay, I'm going through this stuff and it sucks, whatever, but I don't want to like make other people feel that, like
Yeah.
I don't want to project, I don't want to, at least I don't want to make anyone else feel bad because of it. And and it's funny because there was this guy that was in my cabin, and there's like 12 people in a cabin, and he's one of the only people I talked to before we started. And so it was like, you're talking and you're having conversation, whatever, and then the day comes to start it, and you're like, all right, see you on the other side or whatever. And so when we came out of it and I saw him and it was time to talk, and it was the first thing I was going to say, I just started laughing. And he was like, what are you laughing at? And I was like, man, it's so fucking crazy that like we were going through so much crap, dude. Like, and you can see it in other people too. When someone's going through something. But this particular guy, he was like, he asked me, he goes, were you ever angry at anyone? Did you ever just like not like anyone? And I was like, no, not really. I mean, there were some people that I would look at and some thoughts would arise, like maybe I was judging them in a certain way or whatever, but nothing like serious. And he was like, I was just going through so much crap, and there was this one time, and we were meditating in the room, and I was going through something, and I knew he was going through something because like he opened his window and then he was moving around and he was like shuffling around and whatever. And I was just like sitting there doing the meditation, but I was going through something too, but I just wasn't expressing it. And he was telling me, he was like, man, I was looking at you and I was like, this fucking asshole, man, he's looking all zen and like, and I can't even like sit still and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, man, you're tripping, dude. Like I was going through so much too, but I just didn't, I'm just good at not, making a fuss about it.
Yeah.
To everyone. And it's funny because that's what, the teacher says while you're meditating in the hall with everybody. Your eyes are supposed to be closed the whole time. And you're not supposed to be looking around or anything. And he was explaining that part of that is because you'll be going through something and then you'll look around and everyone just looks like stone Buddhas, like all perfected, like silent and stuff. But it's nothing could be further from the truth. Like everyone's going through, their own stuff, and it's often very intense stuff, moments from your past, like moments from your childhood, just all this stuff is just kind of like, you're going into your memory banks essentially, and all these thoughts that you haven't thought of in like forever, just like coming up and, going and coming up, and you're letting them go, and you're just supposed to let go of everything that comes up. So And it's really intense because it's all you're doing, you know? All you do is look at yourself in the mirror, essentially, like every day, and not judge yourself, and, you know, love yourself. And loving yourself, it's not something that you're doing, like, you know, it's not a part of the practice. It's just a byproduct of not judging yourself. And part of it, what about the practice that was so beautiful, was like, you know, the teacher was saying, you know, when you let go of these thoughts and these patterns, you just naturally become a more loving and compassionate person. And becoming more compassionate is natural because if you can sit there and observe your thoughts and let go of all the judgments and the fears and all the stuff that you have about yourself, you just naturally become compassionate towards other people that are also going through the same thing, because everyone is going through the same stuff in their own way. Like every single human being on earth is going through something, you know, and we're so in our own little worlds and our bubbles that we don't realize that fact.
Oh, and it's getting more complicated with our phones and stuff, with
Yeah.
technology.
Yeah.
Although we are getting connected for rollerblading, it's a great thing. But
Yeah.
for feeling separate from other people sometimes, you know, you can look through someone's photo album on Facebook or something and start to think like, oh, their life looks way better than mine right now. That
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
Yeah, and everyone does their best to post their greater, you know, greater moments, which I think is okay. You know, I think it's great. Like I always try to, you know, post some of the more like positive things in my life um, on the internet, whether it's like I'm with my family or, you know, there's a nice view or something, you know, because I don't want to. Because then you have on the other side of that coin, you have people that are just voicing their opinions without disregard to anyone, you know, very like disrespectfully, and there's like a rampant case of disrespect kind of like surging through the internet
Oh, that's the
without
worst part.
any regard to how people are reacting. It's like there's just this non-human factor, you know, to it. Like nobody's being taught respect anymore. And it's not even that, you know, you got to go around and be like, you know, goody goody all the time, and, you know, be super positive all the time. It doesn't even have anything to do with that, because life's not always like that. But there's a difference between, you know, that and then just like actively going out and just like spreading your negativity and your opinions on people without any regard, you know, for what you're doing. And that's something that's like huge right now. And it's everywhere, you know. I mean, it's not just rollerblading, but it's you know, everyone's talking about that. And, you know, it's really affecting a lot of people. You know, people don't realize that other people are reading this stuff and it's like affecting them. Like, I mean, I think there's like a group of people that are just always doing it and always talking, you know, trash and saying extremely obscene and disrespectful things, like extremely disrespectful and obscene things. And there's groups of people that are just doing that over and over, and they're kind of numb to it. But then there's the rest of the world that is actually like, you know, taking it as a real action and a real, you know, thought, and feeling it. And it's just like, this is horrible. You know what I mean? Like, you would never say anything like this to somebody
In
on the street.
person, yeah.
You would never, like, and if someone said that, actually, like if the voice was there and all of that was there, oh man, it would just be like, oh, like I don't even like thinking about it.
That's why I love, I think Sean Cullen was the first to do it. He made a video of himself reading comments and then replying to them. And I just think that's great sometimes. Like if you speak the comments out loud, it
Yeah,
really breaks down how silly a lot of them are
yeah,
to
yeah.
say them in person.
And it makes them more real. I think there's this aspect of people aren't aware that what they're doing is real.
Absolutely.
They're actually doing something, like somehow they can transcend that it's an actual, action because it's being typed. But the reality of it is that it's not always like that. Like people feel what you say. People are reading hateful, comments, and they're just extremely unneeded. They're very immature. They're not opinions, because opinions take, guts to have. They take like a voice and, passion and, to say these things. They take courage. But there's a difference between that and just, saying really horrendous stuff.
Critical thinking.
Yeah.
Really important as we go into the next however long of the internet shit-talking era. Because how Jason Silva says it in his enthusiastic voice, he'll say, we can telepathically send our thoughts through text message, not telepathically, but it's electronically assisted telepathy, pretty much is what we have with the internet. And none of us could have predicted that when we first started getting into skating. So what it can be used for is like amazing growth, amazing criticism, and amazing conversations that can go in depth. But since it's so new,
yeah, I think everyone is just adjusting to it. And actually, you know what? In one sense, I'm talking about the negativity aspect of that, and how that's affecting people. But in one sense, it's also really good because people are actually getting response to it. You know what I mean? Like, you can say something and then a bunch of other people will go, yo, you need to check yourself. But you're actually getting like a response, especially if something is, done like that, like in high disrespect on Facebook or something. It's like your name, and a bunch of other people are gonna like say with their names, like, yo, that's so disrespectful. Like, why would you say something like that? It's totally irrelevant to what is being talked about, So I think people are, it's a way for us, I think it's a way for humanity to see itself a little more clearly in a very rapid fashion.
I always think the internet is here for us to get over ourselves.
Yeah.
Because the way we first use it is in a kind of a separate way. And eventually, without sounding too ridiculous, it has to get to a point where we become one giant hive mind. That it's all the same thoughts, but that's really far away.
Yeah. Well, I feel that, I feel like the internet is a blessing to humanity, because there's you hear everyone's talking about technology and like how bad it is, and people are texting too much, and people are on the internet talking trash, and people aren't living, and you're just on your computer all day, and whatever, and down talking it. But I think we're just in the very beginning stages of learning how valuable this tool can be for us as a race of people, and coming together and connecting on a lot of beautiful ways, a lot of ways that make humanity beautiful, and a lot of ways that we're expressing ourselves, like, and realizing that as human beings we can do so much awesome stuff. Like, you ever see those videos where it say like human beings are awesome, and then there's like people skydiving, and then there's even rollerbladers grinding stuff, and a skateboarder does this huge trick, and then there's this person rock climbing with no things. And you ever seen any of those videos?
Yeah, people are awesome compilation.
Yeah, people are awesome. It's like, that is amazing, and everyone loves those things, because you're just like, wow, people are awesome. Look what these people are doing. Like, wow, we can do that. We can actually be, what if like the world was everyone doing awesome stuff, and we use technology to take care of the crap that we didn't really want to do? like fix the garbage and like do those kind of things. But I think we're in the very beginning stages of seeing that the internet can connect us and bring us closer to each other and what being a human being really means and can mean, and what our potentials could be. And to sidetrack on another story, I was in Santa Cruz when I was living there, and I went into a thrift store, and there was a piano there, and I've always wanted to get a piano. I was playing this piano, and I'm playing it, I'm trying to, I'm just playing it because it's fun. And then this dude came in, and he worked there, and he was like 16, and he started talking to me, and he was like, "Oh, you play?" And I was like, "Well, not really, because I do, but I just learned a couple things on YouTube." And so then we just started talking about learning stuff on YouTube. And then he brought up an idea that we're moving into a renaissance. We're moving into like a digital renaissance. And that really stuck in my mind. And because the potential for us to move in that direction is so possible. And, everyone's got phones, and everyone's got iPads, and there's all these apps, and everyone's messing with photos. And then, you got this group of people that are saying like, "Oh, you're not a photographer. You think you're a photographer because you got a phone, or you think you're a musician because you got this new high-tech digital equipment, or you think you're a photographer because, blah, blah, blah." I think I said that already, but really I think it's a beautiful thing because so many people are having access to the arts, and they may be digital, but you know what? That's where we're moving. That's just evolution, that's what we're doing. So I feel like this renaissance is totally possible. Then you have these like flash dance people flash mob people that just start dancing in the street randomly. And then you got they're also doing it with music, and they're just like, all of a sudden, an orchestra will be in the middle of the street, and then people are just like amazed by it. Or you have dancers in the street. It's like, I think like a fantasy world would be like that.
That's the one. Unfortunately, my imagination is like that all the time.
Yeah, well, it's great. Keep it going. Don't stop. I think more people need to think in that direction in terms of like having a human experience on Earth that is awesome, and everyone's expressing themselves in their own individual way, or finding out what that even means. Because I think every single person has a particular, art that they can do here, or a particular interest, that they can do. They just have to, find what it is, or do it. Some people just are lucky and they're able to do it their whole lives. I mean, I feel extremely lucky with rollerblading because, I was just, doing it because I was obsessed with it. And it was all I thought about every day. I didn't think about anything else. I mean, I didn't think about school. I didn't think about nothing. And so whenever you're doing something over and over and over and over again, it's beautiful because you're just naturally getting good at it without thinking about it.
That's an interesting thing. So that obsession with rollerblading, because I still am obsessed with rollerblading. I still have that, and I've said before I'm not done with it yet. I think there'll be a time where I know that when I'm done with it, it could be never. But
you know what? I see you rollerblading forever.
Me too.
Especially how to watch your rollerblading evolve from just the videos that I've seen of you. The way you skate is a forever kind of way.
Wow.
I totally see you being old and 80 and just like rocking it.
Oh shit! I can't wait for that.
But by that time there'll be like hover blades, or I don't know. We won't even be doing physical stuff. We'll just be plugging into stuff and like, digitally existing. But who knows?
But the shit that we did, the raw shit that we did in real life, is still going to be referred to as awesome. I hope when people are in.
They're like, "Oh, remember they used to actually do stuff physically." God, what a waste.
I hope it's not like that.
I
Um,
know. Well, and if it is like that, maybe, it's just the way it goes, and that's awesome too.
yeah,
And
that.
awesome evolves as well.
Um, so your obsession with rollerblading, if you're silent for 10 days and you're meditating all the time,
Yeah.
how often does rollerblading pop up and what kinds of things? Because rollerblading pops up all the fucking time in yoga class. In
Yeah.
like the absolute quietest moments,
Uh-huh.
it'll pop up. In
Yeah.
the deepest part, where I think I'm super, super, super relaxed and the mind is
Yeah.
quiet, I'll think of a trick or a movement or
Yeah.
something.
No, and that's exactly what happened in the second half. It was like the first half was the past and like things I was like certain moments of my life where, I didn't agree with the person I was, and maybe someone hurt me, and maybe I hurt someone's feelings or whatever, and you're just going through this, um, and you're letting go of these things that you've been holding on to for so long, because it's like, you feel a guilt of something, and then you're like, I need to hold on to that because that was just wrong, and I need to continue to feel bad about it, but it's like, when do you stop feeling bad about something, like at what point, especially if it's something that happened like forever ago. And so there's this period that I went through that was half the meditation, that I was visiting the past, and visiting all these emotions and these feelings that existed in the past. Then it was then the second half was thinking about the future, which you're also not supposed to think about while you're doing this. And you know what I mean? When you free up a lot of energy from thinking these things, because when you're in this meditation, you realize how much your mind is just going, and you know what? That takes energy to go. Everyone's filled emotionally drained from thinking about something too much, or like stressed out and headache because they're thinking about something too much, because it takes a lot of energy combined with emotion. It's like, really can drain you. So the first half is letting go of all these thoughts, and you're just letting go. And so when your mind's not going through these patterns all the time, this energy frees up, because this energy is not being directed into those thoughts, and it can go to other places. So during the second half, I was just getting excited about the future. It was just like, wow, what can I do with this energy? And like, man, I could do this. And you know what? There's this, when you think about doing tricks, do you ever, like, sometimes you're in a certain mood and you think about stuff, and when you're visualizing it, it's like stuff you've never done before, but you feel like you can do it.
Yep.
And then there's other moments where you're not feeling so great and you're thinking about doing something, and then you think like, no, I can't do that because I'll eat shit. And then you have this like imagination kind of thing where you imagine yourself just eating shit. And then there's other times where you imagine yourself just like doing something really easy, and then you feel what that feels like after, and you get all excited, and you're like, oh man, okay, now I'm going to go do that. So basically that's what I was like going through, because you've spent so much time letting go of all these like limiting thoughts, these thoughts from the past, and all this stuff, these limitations and these fears, and you're freeing up all this energy to get focused, to use on staying focused, and you're sharpening your mind at the same time you're doing all this stuff, because you're bringing your mind constantly back to the present, and you're sharpening it in a sense. So then from that point, when you start thinking about your future, things are more clear. Your visualization and your imagination are just like, it's confident, and it's strong, and it's precise, and there's not as much like other bullshit thoughts surrounding it. Like, you think of something good to do, but then there's like three other thoughts that are like, but what if you do this? But what if you fall off this? But what if you hit this? But you know what I mean? And then sometimes that gets you down, or sometimes you can just like let it go and stay focused. But so thinking about the future was exciting, but I wasn't supposed to visualize or think about the future. So it was really tough because, you're, especially when it comes to skating, and, you don't really, it doesn't really get much better when you're the most confident, when you feel the most confident and you're doing tricks really easy, because there's no lag time in what you're thinking and what you're doing, and there's no sidetracking fear thoughts that are keeping you from doing it. Like even while you're on a trick, sometimes you have some certain thought and it throws you off, like particularly like on long balance rails. And I think about like the 666 rail,
Oh
because
yeah.
like you're going through this battle in your head, like you're zenned out for one moment, and then your leg moves in one way, and then you're like, oh no, I'm gonna fall, I'm gonna go fall. You know what I mean? And then that energy thought is like, oh, I can't fall, I'm almost there. Like, like, but there's certain moments when you're clear and that doesn't even exist, and you're just like there and you're doing it.
When you talk about um, running and being, having a good session of skating, do you think that that is its own meditation?
Yeah.
That
Uh,
maybe that's why a lot of people were hooked on it when they were younger and they don't even know it, and it takes longer to get into that state in skating. But
yeah.
it's the same. Skating can put you in the present moment very easily if you have a nice 45-minute warm up and then a nice long session.
Yeah. It's with skating, it's almost more of like a ninja samurai thing, because ninjas and that kind of thing, they're focusing their mind and they're using meditation to perform like feats of superhuman abilities, whatever. So they use meditation to transcend their bodies and whatever, and we're using it, we kind of use it in that sense. And that's the difference between skating and running. Like running's like a repetitive thing, and you're not jumping on anything. You don't have to, there's less to transcend. Because like, when you're doing a trick, there's so much, there can be so much. But what's funny is that there can also be nothing. If your mind is clear, you can just think of doing something, no matter how complex it is, and just do it. And I find that with skating, like I'm always trying to get to that point, and maybe sometimes I try too hard, and I get, because I'm always trying to have this particular experience, and then when I don't have this particular zen, like letting my body do its thing with no thoughts as to like guiding it, always kind of wanting that feeling, then I get like bummed out. But when in certain tricks, it's always, for me mentally, it's this like, okay, I thought about the trick and now I just need to get out of the way and let it happen. So
Okay.
it's like relaxing my body. It's just relaxing my body. And sometimes it's making a physical adjustment. Like I need to make a physical adjustment, and often I'll get so angry because I'm not landing a trick, and I'm, instead of like kind of like stopping for a second and thinking, hey, maybe I'm not jumping high enough. Maybe I need to like be in my body more and push off more. And then if I make that adjustment, I'll land a trick like first try after that. And then I'll be like, oh, like instead of just like, oh, I'm not a shitty skater, I just needed to do that. But I think with skating, I tend to exist more in like the mental kind of realm of it, and kind of just like mind power my way through like what's happening, and like relax, and like I said, just like let it happen. I go for more of like a feeling, like I know what it feels like to be relaxed and let things happen, and I'm always trying to get to there. And as I say that right now, I also think that can be a limitation, because I'm always reaching some kind of height that is not easily attainable. Some days it is, and some days it's not.
Do you
And
ever?
sometimes I get frustrated in that way with skating.
Yeah, which happens to everybody.
Yeah,
But,
totally.
but let's just say on a good day, or you're watching a section of yourself.
Uh-huh.
And I've been thinking a lot about this lately. When I'm really in it for skating, and then I see something on a screen of me doing a movement or whatever,
Uh-huh.
I don't think of it as me when it's good, when I think it's quote unquote good, or when
Uh-huh.
I really feel like I drew on something where I just forgot everything and was just doing some kind of a movement.
Yeah.
Do you ever like see yourself in videos and think that's not me? That's like something else that's happening? Because
Uh, I have to say no, because if I'm doing something that I remember I was really on it, I get excited I'm pumped on myself.
whoa, that's so interesting. I'm the
Yeah.
opposite. I don't
Yeah.
really remember how something felt.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it was a particular moment that I knew that I was doing what I was trying to do. And it's like, I'm pumped on myself. I'm not like pumped on myself and compared to like anyone else, but I'm just pumped on myself. Like, it was a very special moment in my life. Every trick that you deem hard and, you film for in a section or whatever, it's like, you're creating. It's one of my only ways that I create. I have an art. Like, I'm not a painter. I don't draw. I try to make music, but I wouldn't consider myself like a musician. Um, but it's like my masterpiece in a sense.
And
And not that it has to be perfect every time, but and I think this comes down to like self-acceptance too, because I'm so hard on myself that there's not a lot about what I do in life that I give 100% acceptance to. And that's one of my, I don't want to say like downfalls, but I guess energetic kind of like drains sometimes because, um, you know, and that's what comes with being like a perfectionist. It's like this, that's not acceptable, that's not acceptable, that's not acceptable. And it's nice to push yourself and continue to move forward, but there's a balance within that. Like there's a balance in everything. And if nothing is ever acceptable, you end up feeling shitty a lot of the time. If there's not a balance where you're like allowed to feel, good about something you're doing, then most time you're just feeling shitty because you're making yourself feel shitty because nothing is, good enough. And I think a lot of rollerbladers go through that. I think we all share that to one degree or another. I think we all share that.
I think you have a little bit of both in your skating. I think you can tap into that, the free flowing movement, but then you're very technical and you're able to break it down. Like,
Yeah.
I'm trying really hard not to bring up the fast slide at IMYTA, but it's too late. I just did. That moment specifically, is
Were you
that?
were you there?
No, I wish I was there. I mean,
Oh,
I got to watch it on video and
oh,
feel
you
the
know what?
vibes anyway. Like the vibes, you can still feel it
Yeah,
anytime you watch that footage.
yeah,
But that trick in that moment, is my audio still good, by the way?
yeah, yeah. You're totally
Okay.
good.
That trick in that moment, do you actually remember the feeling of sliding down the rail?
No.
See, it seems like one of those moments that is out hard to explain.
Yeah,
The feeling that you had before, during, and after that you were drawing on something ridiculous. And I guess it comes back to the starting, like you knew some top secret method to tap into the energy of the
yeah,
event or something like that.
yeah. Exactly.
You
That's
found
exactly
your little wormhole that day. And some days you don't know where the wormhole is, but that day
exactly.
you did, because Fast Slide wasn't had Farmer, that was before Farmer's Fast Slide and
Yeah,
Words. So that was
yeah. Very shortly after that, everyone was seeming to master it,
so
and I didn't even really mess with it much after that, to be honest.
this is what I
Like,
don't get. So how did you know that you were going to fast slide that rail? Like at what point had you fast slid something that long or
I had been playing with it on the Razors tour that led up to that contest. And part of it, and the first time I did it on a rail was, I believe, at Airborne the day before.
Oh, that's like a perfect rail
Yeah.
for it. I've never
That was
skated it, but I just know shit's gone down on it in videos.
Yeah. Oh man, so many awesome sessions on that rail. But that was the first time I believe that I did it on something that was longer than like 5 feet, and I just, I did it on that. But before that, I think I was, when you were talking about this thing like tapping the wormhole or making the wormhole or whatever, oh man, it's so hard not to go into this because there's so much to this. But let's just say that, I was in a contest and I wanted to win and I felt like I was going to win. So it gradually builds. You're watching what other people are doing. And, to win a contest, you got to be doing some stuff that's like never done, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was, that was like one of the last things, it was coming to this moment where it was like, okay, I did these tricks. I can like finish it up with this essentially. And that's even too much. I don't even think I was thinking that. But the kicker was Dustin looked at me and he said, fast slide it. And it was not because I didn't do it because Dustin told me to do it, but it just so happened that like I was thinking about doing it and he said it and it kind of like was like on the way to doing it. And I smiled and I looked at him. And I smiled and then I did it.
This proves my theory that Dustin Latimer is actually a time traveler. It was Dustin Latimer, that's who you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
He's a time traveler from the future who came back to do all of this work within rollerblading.
Yeah.
And that part of your story that works. If this was a movie and you were following Dustin Latimer, the time traveler, in rollerblading.
No, it was like I was in the woods and he was the Gandalf in the woods.
That's totally how I saw it.
But like, I mean, I didn't mean to paint it like, he told me to do it and I did it, because it wasn't that. I thought about it as well. But he also said it as well. It was this like we both knew what needed to be done.
And then, okay, I swear it was in like a Daily Bread article or someone described that moment that was there at the contest as they said something like almost spiritual moment when they described you fast sliding the rail.
No way. Really?
I'll try and find the Daily Bread.
It was a very spiritual day for me, to be honest. Because it was in the law. Oh man, I don't want to go into this.
I know. We'll save it for the IMYTA episode. But I think about that trick a lot because maybe had Brain Fear Gone had been out by that point. So
Dustin did fast slide the rail in Brain Fear Gone.
Yeah, which was but the one that you did, like you blew the doors. I don't think Farmer wouldn't have done his fast slide if he wasn't there to see your fast slide, probably, or who knows. But
I think it's just the natural progression. Dustin did that fast slide. I remember when Dustin did that fast slide, I was living in Austin, Texas with Lonnie Gallegos at the time, and the Mind Game video just came out, and we watched it, and it was just like everything has changed. Like that's possible. Wow. You can, and it's funny because it's like people, it's like a natural evolution of like getting rid of rules in a sense. It's like, okay, those rules don't apply anymore. Fast slide is not a fast slide anymore. It's something you can actually balance. And so then everyone goes, wow, it's possible. Okay, let's try it. And it's not that it was never not possible, but it's easier when you see physically something done, then it's possible and you can do it. And it may take some work. And I remember going to the skate park the very next day and I was trying to do fast slides, like the very next day. So it's this kind of just natural thing. Like he did it on that rail, which was huge. It was like a huge leap, a huge jump, And so then I did it, which was also on a rail, but there was something particular about that rail, maybe it was longer and it was steeper. It was just a bigger rail. So then that, stepped it up as well. And then you have everyone else that took it to, wow, like, they took it extra further. It was like Dustin took it further. It's like Dustin made a huge leap, and then I kind of made a little bit of a jump past that, but not like a huge leap. And then Alex and Heffy and Farmer, and they just like blew it open, to a point that people still can't even. People are not going there. People don't go to those realms.
The kink one that Broskow does to this day is still I don't understand it.
Broskow is still the wizard of the fastslide now.
He's got them both ways too, doesn't he?
Yeah, and that's wizard levels,
That's beyond. I would say Broskow's grandmaster at this point. I would think.
Yeah.
Or white wizard. I can't.
Yeah, he is white wizard.
We're starting to figure out there's extra levels.
There are.
Yeah, rollerblading for 20 years is pretty basic wizard, but Broskow.
And there's like, it's so fun to look at things like that, like with the whole ninja thing. There's so many parallels, because there's like, you could be a wizard, you could be a ninja, you could be what I like. Do you know Victor Galicia? I think I always say his name wrong, which is horrible because he's
Galents. Does it have an N in it? I always think of it as
no.
Galencia.
I don't think it has
Galaxy.
I think it's Galicia.
That guy's on his own level, definitely.
Totally. And I watched him one day, and I was like, he is the jungle. He's like the Native American jungle ninja, because he looks kind of native. He's Mexican, but he looks Native American. He looks like he might be living in a jungle and like cruising through the jungle, like on some slightly ninja stuff. But it's really cool to break down styles in that way, because rollerblading is such a crazy thing. Like, where do people's styles come from? Like, and everybody's got so many different ones, and they're not coming from like, we all didn't go to the same dojo and practice karate, and then one of us became like Bruce Lee and said, F all that, there's no style, and I'm gonna do this. It was just like everyone was just working with what they were given, and some people came from a soccer background or a football background or a martial arts background or whatever, dance background, whatever. But it's so crazy to go into it and actually relate it to things like martial arts, or even on the more esoteric side of things like wizard and stuff, because there is that aspect to skating as well. Like, it's a huge part.
That's wild. Because I've broken mine down. Like, I've tried to go back and write down all the things that I can link up towards why I skate the way I do now. And there was a big one that I did. Is my audio still good?
Yeah. You're
Okay,
good.
sweet. I did a Michael Jackson airband in front of my school when I was in like grade 2. I was really little, and I don't even know how or why I did it, or I had seen a Michael Jackson video of him like doing his dance moves, lots of spinning. I love the spin, right? And that's so bizarre that I was that young and wanted to do that in front of an audience in school. And then I get into hockey and I discover ice skating, and then I'm good at hockey, but I'm not really into the sports aspect. And then I discover drama in high school, and I'm super into making videos, and I'm really into music. And then boom, I see Mad Beef and Hoax 2, and then all of this shit just kind of comes together. And the spinning didn't come later, but that's the earliest thing I can remember. And I did want to skateboard when I was really young. My parents wouldn't let me. So
I used to skateboard when I was really little. I didn't like pursue it like, it was just something that everyone did. It was, it was like the 80s. It was, it was just fun like that. Where I can trace my roots to being the way I am with skating and stuff. I trace them to elementary school in the playground on me and Jason Howard and a bunch of other friends that I don't know anymore. we used to swing like on the swings, and we used to do tricks, and we had a swinging crew, and we were like doing backflips, and then we were making up moves, and then we were also like going to the tallest slides or whatever and just jumping off of them. And like I would trace my skating like trick roots to that, which is pretty awesome. I like to go back to that.
And did you guys do a Boys to Men air band, or am I?
Dude, how did well, I think we talked about, I think there was even footage in like a Black Fabric video of us dancing
Okay,
together.
that's where I saw it. Yeah.
Yeah. It was
So that was
Boys.
the same crew.
Yeah. Me and Jason Howard, like we go way back. We played football together. We were on the same football team. And then we grew up rollerblading together. We played roller hockey. A big time of my beginning years rollerblading was spent playing tag, going down hills, having races, just doing everything on rollerblades because, you're a kid and it's freedom and you're playing and there's no rules and you just want to do everything on them. So that's what we did. And we played football and then we did that. And then my sister had a boyfriend and he rollerbladed and I saw him do a stair ride for the first time. And I was like, oh my God, you can do that. And I had some Bauer F7s. I don't know if you know what those are.
Were those 3-wheel?
No, they were 4.
Okay.
And they had like highlights of pink on them. My mom got them on sale for Christmas at a Big 5 sporting goods store. And they were like really better than the last ones I had, which were some Veriflex City Heats. And after that stair ride, I kind of was like the bringer of news to Jason and everyone else. And it was like, wow, we can do that.
Holy shit.
And then we went around looking for schools just for stairs. And this is before we knew about rails or anything. So then we just spent a lot of time doing that and playing tag and rolling around everywhere because it was such an amazing thing as a kid, skating so far and just being free in the streets. Like it was one of the, it's the most amazing thing. And you're just cruising and going on adventures and bombing hills. And we used to spend like an entire day. And I was talking about this earlier because Randy was saying he wanted to go down some hills, and I knew of some hills. We used to just all day long. We used to walk up the hill and then go down it, walk up the hill and go down it, walk up the hill and go down it. And, we were just doing everything on rollerblades. And it was just so fun.
Do you feel that sense of play and doing whatever you want on skates tugging at you a little bit as you're getting older? Do you feel sometimes like locked in to?
Yeah, and I do feel locked in, but it's funny is that I'm the only one that's locking me in, So it's a difficult thing to do. I think it's maybe different when your peers or your friends are like locking you in and you have this drive to like, do something else, and then maybe you don't have those friends anymore and then you're free. It's like now it's like a self imprisonment of, it's like what I think it's just conditioning of the mind of like what makes you feel good on skates. And it's this like it's like you're telling yourself that you only have, like at the end of the day, you can only feel good if you did these certain things. And it's not even you, I should say. At the end of the day, if I didn't do something that was acceptable to me or on a certain level, then, I'm not feeling good about the day and how it went. And I mean, every rollerblader can relate to that, especially if you're one who is out there trying to get specific tricks and do specific things, and not taking anything away from that. That's like an art in itself, You're executing and creating certain things that you want to do. But I find that like when I'm older, that kind of thinking is not really kind of beneficial to my overall being on rollerblades. But it's hard to break those patterns. It's extremely hard. It's extremely hard when you're by yourself, and it's extremely hard when you're not around, that kind of like vibe that we grew up with friends,
Yeah.
where you're just playing around. Because it was almost like a fluke. Like, a lot of us got so good because we were just had a lot of time playing, and it wasn't something that we like, were training. It's not something that, and for a lot of us, wasn't even like a dream to be a professional skater. It was just like you're playing with your friends and you're getting good, and then you're like, wow, I'm getting good. Like, whoa, I could get sponsored. Oh, it'd be cool to get free skates, because you know what it feels like to buy skates and how hard it is. And you're like, oh, I could get free skates. I remember the first time I got free skates. They were, or sponsored skates. They were Razor Superflats from John Elliott, and I went in.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
More special powers.
Oh God, yeah. Well, no. I'm sorry. They weren't from him. Like, he took me to Razors and I got them.
No, but that's still special
Yeah,
power.
yeah. You know what? I got superpowers from John Abina though,
Oh shit! I haven't heard that name in a long
because
time.
the very first Razors I ever skated were a pair of flats the blue ones that he gave me.
You know what? I'm thinking there's a picture in Daily Bread of a bunch of you guys sitting against a fence, and I
Uh
bet
huh.
that picture sold so many pairs of razors. It's like
Yeah,
everybody except for Reduta, I think, had razors in that picture.
yeah.
I think he had
No,
USDs.
no, because John Julio and actually I was probably, well, me, John Abina were, I think, the only ones actually.
No, I remember there's a couple other, maybe it was just that it was that cool seeing like, you could see the speed dimples on the
Yeah,
bottom of the
yeah,
sole
yeah,
plate, and it was the old style backslide plate. Those were really good skates. I think
yeah.
around that time was when I decided to try razors, and I got the
Uh-huh.
first John Elliott ones, which were good skates too,
Yeah,
with
they
the
were.
centered backslide plate.
Yeah, yeah. The changed backslide plate. I remember that.
How did you
The
feel about that?
special. Um, I don't know. I kind of was. I didn't really feel like it mattered to me, to tell you the truth. I'm sure it had some benefits, but I wasn't really focused on them. Like, I
Yeah.
wasn't. I wasn't feeling like it was stepping up my game
So
or anything.
it was John Abina's skates that you got power
Yeah,
from?
yeah. John Abina gave me them, and yeah, I got some power from those, and I was pumped up. I also got a pair of, what, another pivotal point of getting free skates in my life was I got a pair of K2 style points from Eric Garcia.
Oh shit.
And when I got those, it was like, wow. I did some tricks in those skates that I probably still haven't done.
Did you leave them flat or were they anti?
They were flat. That was during a period where everyone rode flat. So
That was a really interesting time in skating. There was a lot of K2s in that era
yeah,
and flat.
there were. They were like the magic skates, dude. You could backslide and unity, and a lot of tricks were based around backslides and unities and soyals, and that, like, those are the big tricks you could do, and there weren't a whole lot of other tricks that you were really trying to do anyways. They were just like, there was the soyal, like I said, the soil, the backslide, the unity, the royale, the 270 backslide royale, the half cab backslide, the 270 backslide. Like, these were tricks that everyone was like, those are the ones that if you do good, it's like your money.
Oh, this is making me think of so many extra things.
I know, I know. It's
Um,
totally cool.
the day that you did the 270 in spin torque, like the true spin torque, both
Yeah.
ways
Uh huh.
on Hubba,
Yeah. Well,
right?
I didn't do them in the same day.
Oh, it was separate days.
Yeah, which was really cool because it was in two different videos, and it was in VG10, and then it was in Battle My Crew, I think.
Okay, so I just
Yeah,
remember.
yeah, yeah. It was in VG10, then Battle My Crew.
Have you? Was that a skate specific trick?
No, the first one wasn't. The first one I did in Dirks,
Yeah,
and
you did.
and I had just had this idea to do it, and it was funny because for me, I think doing anything, there's a bit of this feeling like if you're doing something new or different that maybe it's not cool or maybe it doesn't look cool or like, you kind of question it.
Hey, preaching to the choir.
I know, I know, but I mean, maybe I'm thinking I'm coming from like a '90s perspective,
Yeah,
but it's
yeah.
the same across the board. And I actually remember talking to Jason Marshall, and I was asking him about it, and I said, "What do you think about it? Do you think this is cool?" And he was like, "Yeah, that's fucking awesome." And talking about Jason, he was really inspiring during those times because the only time I would see him is in San Francisco, and he would always say like positive things, about my skating, which was really, it was really nice to not only just to hear it from him, but just get positive encouragement in general. And like I remember doing that, and he was like, "Yeah, that's totally cool." And then so the thing about San Francisco and Friday night skate was like you waited all week, and then Friday night was the night to bust, dude, to like do stuff you never done, to like really like showcase your shit. At least for me, it was.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a ton of fun too. Like it wasn't all that. Like I made some of my best friends ever there, and I made some connections that through Jared Majors and Eric Garcia, and I had some of the best times of my entire life during those nights, during those Friday nights. And everyone was doing that, and everyone was pushing. But it was this more of an organic push. It wasn't like trying to push. It was extremely organic, and the energy levels were just so high because the diversity of the people that were there was just so, I don't know, we were all just high school kids meeting together in San Francisco to skate for hours on end at nighttime. It was a very kind of magical thing. And a lot of people did tricks that had never been done during those nights. And it was like a every Friday night thing. So that was just one I had been practicing like on a ledge, and I thought it was possible. And then I just got in this zone and I did it. And you look back at it, and it's funny because it's not like I slid it, forever, but for that time period, it was something that was like huge.
Well, and when was the last time you saw one of those?
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't. I should be doing them. I always come up to this conversation because people call me out on it or we talk about it, and they're like, "Yeah, but can you do it anymore?" And I'm
That's the worst.
Yeah, I'm always like, shit.
But
to my defense, I don't try it or practice it, so it's not that I can't do it.
isn't that weird how in rollerblading there's just so many tricks, and we all have our little pre-programmed things that we like to do, that it's weird to think, you don't think of doing that trick. And I'm not a super tech person, so I would never even bother to try that. I did have True Unity for a while, which you see once in a while, like True Alley-oop Unity, the Dre Powell.
Yeah,
You don't see
so
see the true front torque, and you see people doing kind of like 360 in-spin torque souls, where it looks like they might be able to bring that into a torque, but you don't see the straight up torque.
Yeah, you don't see it a lot, but it definitely has happened. There's Vinnie Minton took it over for a while, and he was doing it on.
You're right.
There was like a contest at Bercy. He did it on a rail, and then he did it on some like other things. And you know what? There's a few other people I know.
Vinnie Minton, definitely.
Yeah, Vinnie Minton handled it, and there's some other people that took it to new levels. That I can't remember. Maybe whoever, someone reposts this in a Facebook or something and can name those people that have done it. That'd be really cool. But it's an interesting one. It's a tough one. Christian Rodriguez did it too.
Really? Oh yeah, he did. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking something about that Razor's backslide plate. I don't know if that's just me, but you did it in Dirks.
Totally. It totally was. And the switch one is the one that I did on the Razors.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Was that that wasn't in flat?
Yes, it wasn't flat.
What? Really?
Yeah. Well, everyone rode flat on those razors. The frame at the time, I think, was just, it was good for it.
That's Frank Stoner posted a Woodward edit, and he did a crazy front torque
Oh
across the
my
Mini,
God.
and I asked him, this is interesting that I'm thinking about this because that was in those skates with those frames
Uh-huh.
and in flat.
Yeah.
So I never got to skate those frames. Or wait a minute. Yeah, I did get to skate those frames. They were hard material and fast, and the groove was smaller, and you
Yeah.
could rocker them. That's right.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah, you could rocker them.
Oh
And
shit.
maybe that's why it was possible too, because you rocked them out, you know?
Yeah, I love that about the second gen ground control
Mhm.
frames that you could rocker them out too.
Yeah,
Um,
I think that's actually what freed up the space to do that. But Frank
yeah.
Stoner was a wizard on those skates too, man.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it was like a full speed, long ass front torque.
Yeah.
And it's also the placement of the foot, something about that backslide plate. Because remember,
Yeah.
Richie would he would have Solomon's, but he would put that Razor's backslide plate on his
Uh-huh.
Solomon's because
Uh-huh.
there was something about that plate that gave you,
Yeah, and there were two different styles of torques too. And I would use, there's like the one where you're kind of like leaning back or you're just parallel.
yeah,
And then but I actually would do the one that your front foot was not parallel with, or you're not creating a 90-degree angle with your skate and the rail. Mine was more bent over, kind of like Sean Kelso. You know
uh,
Sean
yep,
Kelso's torques?
yep.
Mine were like in between being completely sideways and being like more Sean Kelso, because Sean Kelso really has like an angle on it. You know, he's really on it.
Most of the ones you see now are just the straight perpendicular or the
Yeah,
90 degree. You don't see a lot of the angled ones.
yeah. No, you don't.
Man. And then what your physics section, did you skate your I'm getting into skate tech stuff, but did you skate your rems cuffless?
Yeah.
You did. That's what I
Uh huh.
thought. There's
Yeah.
something really particular about that era of your skating with the physics and the cuffless rems
Uh huh.
that was it you moved in a different way, definitely on those skates. In a much different way.
Yeah, you different skates bring out different things and different like, different tricks and different vocabularies and different um, just ways that you skate. So it's interesting because I've skated so many different. I mean, there was like, until from the years of 2003 or 4 until 2007, I didn't have any sponsors. So I was just skating, I skated everything essentially. And it was a funny time too because everyone assumed that I was just like sponsored by these people.
Yeah.
And, they were giving me free skates, but I wasn't sponsored by them. So a lot of people just assumed that when I was skating these skates, I was sponsored by them, but I wasn't. So, but I skated, a lot of skates during that period of time. But I was unsponsored for like 4 years, I think.
And that's I think the IMYTA episode, if we do that, when that would that coincides with you winning the final four. That
Oh
started
yeah,
that whole journey.
yeah, and the final four was during that period I was in. Not to go into this, but I just kind of have to, anyways, because I'm going to. When I was living in San Diego, and I was kind of bummed, and I was like not, you know, skating as well. I mean, I was skating, but I was just like not skating as much as I, could have been, and I wasn't skating around a lot of people, and I was kind of bummed. I ended up, Julio was like, "Hey, we're flying you out to this, contest," and I was like, "Wow, okay, cool," But then I was kind of worried at the same time that, I wasn't going to be able to perform because I wasn't skating like all the time. And I was only skating like this huge kink trail by my house, like on the solo mission, because that was like all there was. But then when I traveled, and funny thing about that, I was on an airplane with, and there was this lady, and she was sitting next to me, and she was really cool, so I was talking with her the whole time. And then she goes, so how do you think you're going to do at this contest? Because by this point I kind of just told her what I was doing and where I was going. She's like, how do you think you're going to do at this contest? And I stopped, and I just went, I'm going to win. Like, I'm going to win. And then I just had this like mentality, essentially, that like, I'm going to win. Like, I'm going to win, you know? Like, I want to win, I'm going to win. I think it was just, it's a form of like how you're thinking about your reality, you know? Because you can think about your reality like, I want to win, and there's a difference by saying like, I want to win and I'm going to win. There's different things happening there.
And then,
you know?
like, it wasn't like the Dustin Latimer moment where she told you to Royale, gap to Royale.
Oh, no,
and then
no,
go
no,
across
no.
and down.
No. No, it wasn't
No.
that. Dustin appeared in the form of a, you know, young lady to ask me this crucial question at this crucial point in time and space. That would forever change the trajectory of my life.
So you just knew, and
Yeah. And you know what? It was more, I wouldn't want to just like, I'm not going to say that it was, I knew it was that I had trained my mind to think in a particular way. And when I said when I wanted to win the Detroit IMYTA, I started that thinking a month or two before the contest. And I started thinking that every day. Like, because there's, like I said, there's a different effect that saying something like, I want to win and I'm going to win. There's two different things. Like, wanting to win, it's like, okay, you want to win, but there's all these other factors that come into it and whatever. But I'm going to win is just like, no matter what happens, I'm going to win. It doesn't even matter what else is going to happen. Like, whatever happens, it doesn't even matter because I'm going to win. You know, there's a different mindset there. So I think I started conditioning my mind at that time to think in those terms, like, you know, to think that way. And so like even at that Detroit contest, it was really my first experience. And it was a very, like I said, it was a very like spiritual experience. It was like a breakthrough, like a mental breakthrough of sorts for me, because I was, in a sense, challenging myself. Like and I was having multiple thoughts, like on the day that I won the Detroit one, I was having multiple thoughts about like, but what if this, and oh man, that guy did that trick, or Rob Thompson did this trick. Like, how are you going to do that? Like, you know, what are you going to, you know, how are you going to do that? How are you going to do this? And then but I was just letting him go. I was just like, no, I'm sticking to this resolve that I made, that I'm going to, you know, do this. And that's pretty much what got me to, you know, it got me there. You know, it wasn't that I was like, half of it is not like I knew I was going to, like I'm like psychic or something, like I knew I was going to win, like it's in the stars and blah, blah, blah. But it was just like, I came to this decision in my mind and I stuck to it, you know, and didn't let anything else like get in the way of it, you know.
And I think it was important. You didn't tell anybody out loud. That was just your own little.
No, I told V about it. V knew about it. I told V because I was hanging out with V. Actually, I told Robert Levanos about it too, because that was a part of the like conditioning part as well. You know, you voice it, you make it more real for yourself.
Wow.
And I told a few people, and So I just was making it more real. Like I was believing in myself more because I was doing that, and that's like going along with like affirmations and that kind of, the power of those kind of things. But that's basically like what I was doing. And that was my first time ever experiencing something like that, in my life. So it was like, wow, like the power of the mind,
That's a perfect. We've hit 2:30. That's like a perfect endpoint
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
we can pretty much start off, and that brings it almost full circle too.
Yeah.
In my man, this was amazing talking to you.
It's fun. I love isn't it fun just letting it flow? Like it's nice. And not to say that this can happen with everyone, but I know that me and you have had this for some time now without ever even talking to each other, just through Facebook and text messaging and stuff. And I have this with, you have this with certain people. It's just like chemistry. Like with Kevin Yee, me and Kevin Yee can do this, like, and you just, it's this flow of, conversation, and you kind of just let it naturally go,
And it goes by really quickly too.
Totally does.
We were in a flow state, going with the flow.
Going with the flow.
With Rob Guerrero.
What's funny too is I bought that book, Flow.
With
it's like Psychology of Flow.
Yeah, Mihai. The name is impossible to pronounce.
Yeah, and it's funny because Kevin Yee told me about this years ago, and he was so excited about it. Like so excited about it. And he was like, "Rob, you gotta get this book, man. It's basically breaking down like what we do and and skating and talking and I was just like, yeah. And then I eventually bought it, but then it's just chilling. I need to read it.
Guess what? I have that book too, and guess what it's doing? Chilling.
Maybe we need to start a rollerblading book club. And because that's always inspiring, right? It's way more inspiring when you have other people to talk about it. Like it's separate, like our own little like side thing where we got a separate podcast where it's like a book club, and me and you just talk about the books that we're reading.
Rollerblading book club. That's so awesome. I remember you. I tweeted one time, something about like when I hold my pee, I know I'm in a flow state. And you retweeted it or liked it or something. It's like that's when it's just maybe someone that you could have a long conversation with. Because I could say that to certain people, and they'd be like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah, it's really it's really a chemistry thing. It really comes down to that. And one more thing that I have to tell you, personally, before we end this, is. And I've been waiting for this moment to tell you. So it's pretty awesome. So during my Vipassana meditation retreat thing, I didn't dream a lot. I maybe had like a few dreams during that period. And I have to tell you that you were in one of those dreams.
Whoa.
Wait. So check this out. We were I'm sitting down, and we're in this like apartment complex, and I'm sitting on some steps, and there's like imagine like a 2-story apartment, and then there's a balcony.
Yeah.
And you're standing on the edge of the balcony with your skates, and you're looking down like, like a story, and there's this concrete ledge that is skinny, and it goes flat and down. And there's grass on one side, and we're in the middle of an apartment complex, and you're like getting pumped, and you're like standing on the edge of this balcony, and it's and you're getting ready, and then you drop in from this balcony, which is really high. You land on the flat of this ledge, and then you royale the down, and you were so pumped, and there was someone else there, and I don't know who it was, and everyone was just like, whoa, like, you just did some big burly trick. And then I remember I looked at you and I said something like, And you know what? It's totally acceptable by today's aggressive inline standards. Something like that. Something, and I think what I said was even cooler than that, but it was basically I summed it up like that. And you were laughing like hysterically. And then all of a sudden your skates were off and you were in a tire swing in a tree and you were laughing and smiling.
Whoa. Because
Yeah.
I had one once with you and there was one other person, but I'm not sure who was in it. And we were chilling just out at Shuswap Lake, and it was after a day of skating. And it was, I think, long before I connected with you. It
Uh-huh.
was just this little moment at the end of a yoga class, and it was like this really solid feeling that I was gonna get to skate with you eventually,
Uh-huh.
and it came through that. So that's bizarre. And
Nice.
you're trying to say I didn't roll it? Did I roll into this drop to Royale, or I
No,
jumped
no,
straight?
you just like straight dropped onto
I
the flat
oh
part of it,
man,
and
I
then you did the down, and then you royaled the down.
I would laugh so hard if I did that because I would.
Dude, you were laughing so hard. Everyone was laughing. There was one other, actually, it felt like a group of people there, but then there was just one other person. We were all laughing hard, and I was like, dude. And then I made this jokingly, like, satire kind of thing, and I was like, and it's totally acceptable by today's aggressive inline standards. That's what I said.
And
And you were laughing so hard, and we were all laughing. Oh shit. My headphones fell out.
oh, that's that's a good way to end it.
Yeah, totally. So,
Wow. Well, this was incredible. And lastly, I hope you get to come up sometime.
yes, I will.
Um, hopefully in the summer.
Yeah, that sounds optimal
Yeah.
during that time with what you guys are doing. And what you guys are doing is going to be like slowly formulating and all that kind of stuff as well, right?
Oh yeah.
Or you will know more closer to, you know, when it's going to happen.
It's going to be a lot of filming in Kamloops again, and then more Vancouver sessions,
Yeah.
and then maybe a couple little trips here and there. Lots of
Hmm.
British Columbia. I don't think we're going to stray too far, so
Nice.
anywhere within that structure. 'Cause,
Awesome.
yeah, put on your Greg Mizoram
Yeah, totally.
2014 skates and
Yeah.
experiment.
I know that's what I'm looking forward to.
Oh shit. Well, I'm gonna go. I don't know what I'm gonna go do. I'm gonna feel really weird because this was so good. I sometimes feel really high after some of these conversations.
Yeah, totally.
Just I have trouble sleeping because I get too excited about rollerblading.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
You
you
know what I'm
did it.
gonna do? I'm gonna go back to. I have this keyboard sitting right in front of me, and like I said, I was learning songs on YouTube, and but I go through these periods where I start learning something new, and then like I get really angry because I'm not doing it the way I should be doing it, and then I finally just say, "Oh fuck this, I'm not playing." And then I go like a month or two or three without doing it, and then I'm like, "No, I like doing it," you know. So then I come back to it, and then I like start doing it again. And I recently am trying to learn some songs from the movie Cloud Atlas. Have you ever
Oh,
seen that movie?
no, I haven't seen it yet. I know it's a hefty thing to take
Oh,
in.
it's
So
it's a real hefty one, and it's one you're gonna want to watch like multiple times. But it had it had a very real impact on me, in a really rad way, and the music I love. So I've been trying to like learn, and like just a couple days ago I started to do a song. You want to hear a little bit of it?
yeah, and then I get yeah, play us out. That'll be the
Okay.
end.
Okay. Now, I'm just warning. Anytime I put myself on the spot, I usually mess up, but I'm feeling pretty good right now, so maybe I won't do that.
Okay.
Okay, I'll just play the little beginning part that I'm learning right now. Okay, ready? Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Good?
It it's good. It's like lo-fi. I like it.
Okay. Let me see. Is that good?
Yeah.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, wait, let me start it again. Okay, I'm gonna do it to kill it this time. Maybe. Okay, ready. Oh, okay, we'll just go that far.
Holy, that's some
But
emotional stuff.
yeah, I know. I really like the heavy emotional piano stuff.
You can feel your tear ducts want to start producing tears when that song plays. At least for me. Like you
Yeah.
could put that to some images and it's just instantaneous emotion.
Yeah, and it's really nice to be able to actually play some music that you can really put your own like depth, like in-depth feelings and emotions like into. You know what I mean? It's something I've never been able to do, and actually with this particular song, it's allowing me to like do that. So it's really cool.
Well, I felt it.
Awesome.
And well, I guess we've had our last words a few times, so
Yeah.
this is the signing off part. Thanks
Okay.
again, Rob, and we'll
Thank
do it
you.
very
Thank
soon.
you for doing this with me. This was a lot of fun, and I hope we do it a lot more.
Have an excellent night and take care of the knee for all of rollerblading, please.
I will. I will.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Joey.
Later.
All right, later.